We're live, pal.
Oh, we're live.
We're live.
Look at that.
Ha. All right. Well, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of From the Hip. I'm your host, the original beast from the Northeast, Brew Van Slyke. And I'm here with my very special guest this week, the juggernaut himself, Jason X. Jason, how the hell you doing, pal?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being with us. Like I said, you are a modern day pro wrestling cryptid, so I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing some tales.
Yeah, it's funny because it seemed like everyone was surprised that I would do a wrestling show. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know if you guys know this, I podcast all the time. Just nobody ever asks me to do anything. Like, you could just ask. It's fine. Like
It's true. I've seen those shows. They're very very entertaining.
Well, thank
Now
you.
they're not
Thank
very
you.
wrestling heavy, but like if you bring up
No,
wrestling, you will
no.
acknowledge it. And Jason
That's true.
X is the originator of hashtag Fuck Freddy,
That-
which I appreciate.
Yeah, you're gonna get some Freddy stories tonight, so I hope you're all ready for that. Hello, everyone in the chat. Fenton, good to see you. Carrie, good to see you again.
Awesome.
Very, very exciting to be on the show. And I've, I do this all the time. Nobody really asks to talk about wrestling ever with me, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just like the character that I've built over the years. Everyone's like, "Oh, we want to shy away from it," but like, I got no problem talking about wrestling.
Yeah, see, like even when you get out of it, man, like it's still there, and no matter what, like how you get out of it, you always have those stories. You always have the shit to look back on, and even if it's like you're leaving on a sour taste, chances are you probably
Mm-hmm.
got a good story or two, or at least some entertaining ones, and
Oh, if
that's
you've
what
been
we're gonna
doing it for
get
long
to
enough,
here
yeah.
today. So
Mhm.
obviously, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. See, Agent said he's been waiting 7 whole days for this. It's a
Oh,
lot
wow.
of it's a lot to live up to.
That's a lot of waiting with chicken fingers and pizza, brother. You know, gotta
Double fries,
double fry.
chicken tenders, double fries.
That's right. That's right.
So usually on this thing, I like to kind of start off by reminiscing on our first encounters, and I
Mm.
was thinking about it, and so I'm pretty sure our first official meeting was probably when I started training.
Okay.
I don't think in the military bases. I just remember like Gordy and Josh, Isis, and I think Loco might have been there, but I'm pretty sure you're there when I showed up at the double ringed warehouse and definitely on Wavell Street. But
Oh
before
yeah, that
that,
place. Yeah.
I was doing the video even when I wasn't actually training.
Mm.
And the first thing I can remember is I used to go with my cousin and I used to try to pop as many people as I could by bringing like signs. And there
Okay.
was one day I brought a sign where I drew a picture of you and
I
your
remember
face was an
this.
asshole. And I
I
said, main
remember
event Jason
this.
ass. And that's the first story I could think of
Yeah, no,
with
I remember that.
Root.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that, and I remember being like, "Oh, hey, I got a sign. That's cool." And then I looked at it, and I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's well done." So like,
Thank
you
you.
gotta applaud the artsmanship of it. But no, it was cool. It was cool to I always found like all that kind of stuff cool where, I mean, not so much like some of the chants that people would do, because like sometimes, like especially when I was a lot younger, when they would do the things that pertain to like my actual life and my real life, where they would do like the change my oil chant because I worked at
Oh,
Valvoline, and like that bugged me because I'm just like, listen, guys, this is a separation thing,
yeah.
and it was crossing a line, but like stuff like that, like the signs and like anything like that, like I always pop for.
Yeah, that's when something like that happened to me early on, and that's when I decided to like split like my Facebook because I used to like
Mm,
when I started wrestling, I had the one fans would send requests, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, awesome, and I would just kind of set posts to like this one's just for there used to be a way to separate it. So like when I post, some the wrestling fans could see some shit, but not the other. But
Mhm.
one time I posted something when I was working at Walmart, and I was posting about how like this customer came in and he needed an internet hookup. So I was trying to give him like an Ethernet cord, but he was trying to say he needed an HDMI cable. And like
Mhm.
I was arguing with him for like a half hour of what cord he needed, and he wouldn't
Sure.
believe me. So he bought the HDMI cable, and I'm like, hang on to that receipt because you'll be back. So I like posted about that, and then like on the next 2CW fan cast or something, they're talking about my match, and someone goes, "Oh, well, I hope no one has a confusion over an HDMI cable and an Ethernet cable." And I'm just like, "All right, time to
Yeah,
separate
yeah,
shit
that's enough
because
of that.
not
Yeah,
as I don't know. I just
it's weird.
Brew Van's like or
It's
Punisher
weird.
Van's Mike Van's
Yeah.
like you know, I like to keep those things separate as I can.
I do the same thing with like my shoot job. Like whenever anybody's just like friend request for your shoot job or anything, I'm like no 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 no. That's separate. Like I like to keep everything very compartmentalized. So just for my own sanity more
Right?
than anything.
Yeah. Whenever I go to like a new job or something, I like to play this game of how long can I last before they find out I'm a professional wrestler.
Mhm.
And usually it's me messing up because like eventually something will happen. I'll have to go. I'm like, hey, I need time off for this, and here's why. And it's really
Mhm.
important I get this time off. And then that person tells somebody, and then next thing you know, someone's like, hey, is this video online I found of you and shit like that?
Mhm.
But the job I have now, that kind of happened, and I was doing some training with the trainer of the company, and he was just like, he was asking, "Oh, like who's your like favorite wrestler like all time?" And I was like, "Most people probably don't know him unless you're a big wrestling fan. If you're casual, you might not know, but it's a guy named Stan Hansen."
Mhm.
He just goes, "Oh, do you know where I'm from?" I was like, "No." He goes, "I'm from Borger, Texas."
Oh
I was
shit.
like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "You know who Stan Hansen is?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Yes, I do." And I was like, "That's
Mm.
fucking awesome."
That is fucking awesome.
Then your coworkers are like, "Oh, this is you in spandex." Yeah, that gets a little weird.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, like back in the day, like the guys at Valvoline were pretty cool. Like they gave me the time off that I needed. Um, I mean, and it was ridiculous too. Like I was going to college, I was training to be a wrestler, and then I was doing shows on the weekend. So like, I had a part time job there where I would work like Sunday, and that was it. And some weeks it'd be Sunday, some weeks it'd be Saturday if we weren't running shows. And all those guys thought it was cool and they would come to the shows, but then they would try to get themselves over. And that's what like the Valvoline thing changed my oil sort of stuff. So like that stuff wasn't so awesome, but it was
Yeah.
very cool that they were accommodating. And that's the hard part, like especially when you're starting out in your training, like to find a job that fits that schedule is damn near impossible to
Mm,
either a find that job and then to try to make a decent living to where you can support yourself. If you're not living at home, if you're living on your own and you have either a family to feed or not just yourself to take care of, like it's damn near impossible to kind of break in and get started with that sort of thing.
yeah. That's why like I always say like I tried training twice before the third time I was able to stick with it. The first time was heavily financial because I was just like it was a little soon after high school. I was living I just moved out on my own for the first time. I was living with my girlfriend at the time. But I had a job. It was between part-time and full-time. It wasn't 40 hours, but it was like more than 25. But
Mm,
like I just was stretching real thin, making the payments, and I was kind of feeling guilty because like my girlfriend would have to have to not pay for it, but like suffer from the money and shit. So
right, right, right.
I wanted out of my job. So I was like, once I get a new job, I'll be back.
Hmm.
And by the time I came around the third time and stuck with it, I was at Walmart and um again, not full time, but more than like 25, 30 hours. But like training was Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6:30 to 9:30. So originally I'm not available that day. Like can't work.
Right,
So then
right.
they started cutting my hours because I wasn't available 2 days out of the week. So I was like, all right, fine, I'm available until 6 o'clock because then I can just leave, drive straight to Syracuse, and I should be there in a decent time. And they would
Hmm.
still cut my hours. And I'm just like, like
God.
I'm available 98% of the time. I'm just trying to like fucking drive and train and do something. And you
Right.
guys are cutting money because I want to do that. Like, what the shit? And then,
Hmm.
like you said, 2CW is doing fucking double shot, so I'm taking like Fridays and
Right.
Saturdays off,
Yeah.
and then
Those are
training
always
twice a
rough
week.
because
And
you gotta get the whole weekend off. Like, especially if you got the weekend job, like to get the whole
mhm.
weekend off, like that's big money that you're missing out. But that's kind of the sacrifice. Ryan in the chat asks, "What did you study in college?" You've always been very outspoken. I studied electronic media communications, which is a fancy fucking term for video production and audio production. But I'm also an English literature major as well. So they I know how to tell stories and make news and shit. Fucking shit on.
Which came in handy for. Oh man, I am sorry. Fuck. What was your comic book called?
Oh, The Devil Within.
The Devil Within. That's what it
Hmm.
is. Great comics. I bought all the issues that you did, and
I
I highly
appreciate
enjoyed them.
that. Yeah, the comic book thing, along with the podcasting thing, was a way to was kind of the life after wrestling idea because once we knew it was over, like I think Josh always threatened to end the goddamn thing every week. And you're just
Yeah.
like, okay, here we go. And then he'd book like another triple shot. And you're like, motherfuck, like, are we in or are we out? Like, I need to know kind of thing. But I think probably I knew maybe 6 months ahead of time that it was legit going to be done. And then I had to think to myself, I'm like, man, like, do I want to keep going? Do I not want to keep going? Like, it was really hard because I had my little girl who was, I think, 2 or 3 at the time, very young. Yes. Shout out to the Exalted One. Love you. But I had my little girl at the time, and I was beat up. I was bitter um, for a lot of reasons, and we get into those later. But I was like, but I still love performing. Like I still love going out there talking, and at that time, I had listened to a lot of Kevin Smith's podcasts, and at that time he was always just like, why not you? He's like, he was a nobody and he just did it, and I was just like, why not me? And I talked to Kevin, and I was just like, hey man, like, what do you think about doing a podcast? And he's just like, I always wanted to. And I'm like, well, let's just do it. And so we did. And so once the podcast started, and then I knew 2CW was closing, I was like, what else am I going to do? And I'm just like, well, just do whatever the fuck you want to. And I'm like, well, I love comics. I love writing. Fuck it. Let's try to do a comic book. And so I was just like, and the first issue of The Devil Within took 2 years to write because there's no beginner course as to how to fucking write a comic or how to make a comic or any of the process whatsoever. So it took a year to basically research it as to what you have to do. And then it took another year to actually write the thing. And then I'm just like, all right, well, we're just gonna go for it. And it worked out very well until the pandemic. And then it fucking killed the comic book industry. So there you have it.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're talking about with Kevin Smith because um, I actually talked about this on the last episode too. But like, I was, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, so I have like his first like 6 or 7 Evening with Kevin Smith DVDs, and I used to
Mhm.
just watch them over and over and over and over. And then there was one, I believe, where he was going was he was talking about Wayne Gretzky, and he was
Mhm.
talking about the quote of you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and then
Yeah,
he was going into the why not me and all that stuff. And I remember just watching it and this being like, yeah, like what the fuck, why not me? Why can't I fucking be on the Super Indies? Why can't I fucking get signed? Like I can fucking do this. Like yeah,
of course. Yeah.
but at the same time, um, all pretty much all my life, like even like when I was a kid, I've always like felt like there needs to be more to life than what's expected or what's required. Like, okay, it's
Mhm.
cool you work your job, your full-time job, that's whatever you're doing to make ends meet and to pay your bills and all that stuff, and you're doing what you need to do, and maybe you like it, maybe you're okay with it, but it's probably not what you want to do it's probably not like what you can do to express yourself. So like I've always been
Mm-mm.
big on I need to be doing something.
Mm,
And I've tried doing a few things. Like I've tried doing like web comics. I've tried doing I just started doing stuff with the streaming. Like I've always been trying to do stuff. And so like in 2015, I was told about 2CW while I was still in Japan. Like
mm-mm.
Josh like messaged us and was like, "Well, you and Freddie went to Japan. Like I did my job. Like everybody made it. 2CW doesn't need anymore. We're done." And I was like, "Well, fuck." My mindset was, "How am I going to keep wrestling?"
Mhm,
Next couple of years were probably like the best couple of years of my career doing the most shit. But since the pandemic, there's been like a fucking reset in pro wrestling, and I just haven't been involved in a lot of those reset plans. And I'm
mhm,
trying, but at the same time, I'm always just like, well, if this is it, if it's coming up, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to get that expression out? Like, how am I
mhm.
going to, to do that? I do love comic books. Am I going to keep trying to? Am I going to go back to drawing? Am I going to try to do streaming more? Am I going to try to do these shows more? Like, it's almost like, well, I really like comic books and now I want to be a part of it. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to create my own character. I'm going to draw my own stuff and tell my own stories, sort of thing. So I totally get that. And like you, a lot of people would just be like, well, I'm done, I'm gonna roll over and take it,
Mhm.
go back to the grind. But I mean, just to look at you, man, you, like you said, night and day over here. Like you've come a long way, you've done a lot of shit, and at the end of the day, that's something to hang your head on.
Yeah, and actually in the chat, Ryan, thank you again for supporting the comic book. I deeply appreciate it. But at the end of the day, like you can do all those things, man. Like, and so can anybody else. The thing that I've learned more than anything through the 34 years that I've been on this planet is that the only person limiting you is you. Like you can literally in this day and age, you can literally go out and do whatever the fuck you
Mhm.
and you can and it doesn't matter it like fucking me and Kevin Graham do a podcast every week that three fucking people watch and two are our wives. Well, my wife and his girlfriend. So like it doesn't matter who's watching, who isn't watching, who's buying, who isn't buying. The point is you need to get out and create. Like
Mhm.
that's one thing that I've really come to understand about myself is not only in wrestling, comics, podcasts, in general. Like for me, creation is the goal. Like
Right.
some people are motivated by money, some people are motivated by status. For me, it's let's make a thing.
Hmm.
Let's make something. Let's put it out in the world. Uh, thank you for coming to Access TED Talk. Yes, I fucking I didn't know that I was gonna try to inspire the nation, but here we are. Um, but yeah, just go fucking make a thing because at the end of the day, you can say, I fucking made a thing. It's here. It wasn't here before. Now it's here. So now it's a thing. Go do it. And then you can be like, hey, I fucking made a thing. And to be perfectly honest, like the things that I've made in my spare time have actually gotten me the job that I currently have. So, like, not only are you putting out a thing, but you can add that to a resume. You can
Hmm.
add that as a piece of a thing that you've done. And once you've compiled enough things that you've just kind of fucking made on your own, it builds up over time. It really does.
Fucking a, man. And again, no, I'm totally with you, man, because this is like, you know, my wife tells me all the time, like I'll stream something and she'll just be like, "Well, did you have fun?" I'm like, "Yeah, I had fun.
Yeah.
I just had one person there." She'll be like, "Well, you had fun, right?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's what matters." And but like the thing is like even if like wrestling was over and I started getting all that money from like streaming or whatever, like I wouldn't do that if I never started.
Right.
And
Exactly.
there might only be like one or two people, but you'll never get 1 or 2 thousand people without first getting those 1 or 2 people. And even if I don't, like, it's there. Maybe I said something funny and I can just, you know that got 5,000 views on TikTok because I said something funny on a stream one time.
Hmm.
Like, it's there. And this kind of is a good segue to kind of talk about the training and stuff.
Mm.
um Now, between my second time and the third time of coming in, the first time was all financial. The
Hmm.
second time was more about being in shape. I came back.
Mm,
Um, I got put in the beginner's ring, and I got put with
beginner's
ISIS.
ring.
And he made sure to point out the fact that, like, 400 and, well, no, 398 pounds of bagel bites and surge isn't gonna cut
Fuck,
it in
brother.
a wrestling ring. And so I was like, well, I better get in fucking shape.
Mhm,
And then while I'm getting in shape, while I'm dieting, while I'm buying a treadmill and doing all the shit, I'm always talking to Josh, and Josh is like, "Well, how's everything going?" I'm like, "Good. Like, I dropped this. I'm lasting longer on the treadmill. Like, I'm confident I might be coming back soon." He's just
mhm,
like, I can run on the treadmill for like an hour and not get blown up. Like, can you do
mhm,
that?" And I'm like, "No. I guess I'm not coming back then. I'll keep running on the treadmill."
mhm,
But one of the main things that like kind of really prevented me, and I remember this vividly, and it's so fucking weird, but I didn't think I could ever be a wrestler because I couldn't picture myself taking a vertical suplex. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around being
mm.
upside down, my feet in the air, and
Okay,
somebody giving me a vertical suplex. So I'm like, I
right.
can never take a vertical suplex, so I can't be a wrestler. Like, this weird thing in my head that was stopping
Hmm,
me. Just being like, no, you can't do it. Why even bother? And then one day I'm like, I can fucking take a vertical suplex. Fuck that.
right.
And then I came
Yeah.
back and I started training.
You're only doing
Um,
half the job, brother. You just gotta jump and throw your feet up as fucking high as you possibly can.
go up like a board, he's in, and we'll put it
Yeah.
straight out.
Unless you're Matt fucking Hardy, and then you're gonna sandbag the shit out of everybody.
Or Sean Carr,
That's fair too.
sometimes Studley. Uh, Also funny because it was you and Isis who finally fucking taught me how to do suplexes, which is wow, that's a real full circle thing. I didn't even think of that. Man, when I came back, because I am the fucking Taz mark that I am, I'm just
Mm,
like, when can we learn suplexes? I want to do suplexes.
mm,
And everyone's like, calm the fuck down. I'm like, all right, but I want to do suplexes. So one day we're at training, we're done. Spring 8 left. His door shut. Isis turned and goes, all right, who wants to do class? And we're just like, yeah, what are we gonna do?
Mhm.
He's like, we're gonna do suplexes.
Because
And I'm
after all
just
the
like,
drills, we can actually fucking learn something. Yeah, no, for sure.
and I'll always remember uh we're doing the suplexes. So the four we learned was the vertical suplex, the
Mhm.
snap suplex, the gut wrench suplex, and my bread and butter, the butterfly suplex.
Yeah, you love that fucking thing.
I fucking love that suplex.
Hmm.
If anyone ever wants to know why there's a butterfly tattooed on my arm, that's because it's the butterfly suplex, and that's why it's black, orange, and blue. Just in
Hmm.
case anyone was wondering. Um, was it your nickname, the straight edge suplex machine brute? Yes, it was. And then everybody made fun of me because they're just like, "Are you a straight edge machine who suplexes people, or are you a machine who only suplexes straight edge people?"
Gotta be very specific
Yeah.
with your gimmick, brother. You gotta be very. I taught like not to get ahead of yourself or of myself anyway. I did a little training down here in Florida. Found a school, and this kid, fucking love this kid, the most natural athlete I've ever met, ever. His name was Tito, and he was called, and his gimmick was he's the answer. He's the answer, Tito. And I go, all right, what's the question? And the fucking like stars in this kid's eyes when I ask, okay, well, you're the answer. What's the fucking question? Like, you need to know this as part of your gimmick. If you're going
Yep.
to be the answer, you need to know what the question is. If you're going to be the straight edge suplex machine, you need to know the fucking details as to what that actually
Yep.
means for the gimmick to work. And that's something that, comes over time that you realize like, you know, you need to think inside of and out of all aspects of everything that you do if you're going to be a convincing character.
It's true. It's true. There was even a time where I was trying to think of like a good finisher, and I remember I really liked Colt Cabana's Colt 45, where he puts him up over his shoulder and like drops down. But I was just like, I can't do that because he does a butterfly. So if that was my finish, why would I ever do the butterfly suplex? Because it starts the same.
Mm.
So it's like,
Right,
why would I
right,
ever do
right.
the butterfly suplex? Why don't I just go straight for the finish? So I was like, I can't do that.
That's like every motherfucker that has like a top rope finish, but then they do five other fucking moves. top rope. It's like, why wouldn't you just go for the finish?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any
Yep.
sense
Exactly.
to do that. But you know, when it comes to finishing moves, Ice has said it best one time because you know, he helped train me a bunch. And I don't ever talk to that guy, but I fucking love that dude. Like I miss him all the time. He is a wacky, fucking fun motherfucker, and I wish I talked to him more. But it's one of those things where
Same.
like life just kind of gets away from you sometimes, and you always think of people and you think of them as how you remember them, and you're like, oh, I fucking love that guy. But you know, life just gets away, and you don't keep in touch and things like that. But it's not that you're not friends with him anymore. You
Mhm.
know, you just fucking shit happens. But Isis said it best. He's just like, you know, a finishing move can be anything. It literally can be anything. The concept behind a finishing move is that you've practiced that move more than anybody else and you've perfected it to the point to where it is the most devastating move in your arsenal. So it could be a clothesline, it could be a DDT, it could be a vertical suplex. It doesn't fucking matter because you are the master of that fucking move. And no
Yeah.
matter how many and that's kind of like the Jake Roberts approach to it, where he's just like motherfuckers always kick out of the goddamn DDT. It's like, yes, because Jake Roberts has practiced the DDT to make it the most devastating move. That's the idea of the finishing move.
Yeah. 100%. And that's why I always, unfortunately, I said this like a little while ago that the lariat has become the super kick for the fat guys. And and now the skinny guys are doing it too. Um,
Mhm,
but everyone's always like, "Oh, this is my lariat. This is my best lariat. Look at this video of my lariat. My lariat's the best." And I'll watch the video or whatever, and I always want to comment and just be like, "Well, my lariat's better because my guy wouldn't have kicked out after I did mine."
mhm,
I have protected that fucking lariat since the day I started doing it.
mhm.
And even when it wasn't my finish, it was always like the setup for the finish because I used to do the Bernard driver because I just
Right.
wanted to be giant Bernard. So it'd
Well,
be
who doesn't?
lariat, pick him up, Bernard driver, and
Mhm,
then the Bernard driver became the go-to fat man finish. So I was like, well, I can't do that anymore because everybody's doing it. So I'll
mhm,
just keep the lariat because I'm the king of arms. Makes sense. But no, man, if everyone's just like, "Oh, maybe you can hit it and then this," I'm like, "No, I'll hit a left one." I was like, "If I
mhm,
hit the right lariat, that's it. It's done. It's fucking over." Like, that's my finish, and I'm going to make sure I protect that because I don't
mhm.
feel enough people really do. They just want the cool impact noise, I want the cool pop or whatever, but I'm just like, "Nope, that's my lariat. There's other lariats like it, but this one's mine, and that's it." You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean that's the thing. And actually, Ryan in the chat, a lot of times the finishers are better complicated. The thing is with the finisher, like the finishers that I always loved are the finishers that you can be super creative with, where you hit you know, the RKO out of nowhere type of thing, where
Mhm.
you have a finisher where you can just kind of get it in different ways, which, you know, unfortunately, the Fisherman Buster didn't really work out that way for me.
Man, that fucking thing was sick. That was like
The
the number one move I never wanted to take were fucking fisherman busters
the
because like that was a big 2000 indies move.
it really
Like,
was, yeah.
yeah, like everybody in like CZW, ROH,
Mhm.
MLW, Jersey All Pro, there was always a fucking fisherman buster, and everyone made me throw up in my mouth.
Yeah, for a while, I was trying to get the high knee over, with, you know, just kinda catching people off guard with the high
Mhm.
knee, but, like, it didn't, like
Like a
I don't
Triple
think
H high knee or Mr. Wrestling.
no, like, just kind of like a I was doing a thing where if someone would throw a punch, I would block the punch and then bring my knee up at the same time and
Okay,
connect.
yeah.
And like I beat a couple people with it to try to get over. Like I beat Colin with it, I know offhand.
Mhm.
Um, but that was kind of it. But I mean, more recently, the Death Valley Driver into the Oklahoma Stampede
Mhm.
that I
That was a
used to
good one.
do.
Yep.
I've down here in Florida, I've used that a couple times as the finisher, and that always seems to get a pop. So, and you know, you can get a fucking Death Valley Driver out of anywhere. So
Mhm.
that's always a fun one to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's why like two of my favorite finishers have always been like the lariat and the DDT.
Mm,
And like Raven used to hit that DDT at a lot of cool spots, and Stan Hansen used to like fucking duck, whip, weave, and he just fucking spin around to take your head off. Like a lot of times, it was just like grabbing them and hitting them out of nowhere. And that's always been a favorite aspect of my finisher too. Is I don't like for the longest time in the WWE, all finishes were set up. Everyone had
Mhm.
like a comeback and like it
A
was like
taunt
hit this, go to the
beforehand,
corner,
you know,
gee
all that
up, and
shit.
then here it comes. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
always hated that. I
Mhm.
much prefer like, oh shit, he just fucking hit it. Like there it is, it's over. Like yeah, I 100%.
Yeah,
That
the
always
lariat's
makes for a
great
good
because you
finish.
just need to step. Like,
Yep.
that's all you need is you just need to step, and it can literally come out of nowhere, which is
Mhm.
what lane the, like JBL's was always great just because I mean, he did, like, the missing the buckle too many times, uh, but every time like, when he first did that, when, the
Yeah.
missing the buckle one, you're just like, "Holy fuck.
Yep.
What a
I
great
definitely stole
fucking
that.
spot that is." Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and again, going back like older finishers, like again, I'm real big on like I was talking to Garrett a while ago, we're kind of talking about like finishers and stuff, or he wanted like a really good impactful move. Now, when Garrett, like for a long time, his finisher was the gory bomb. And I
Mhm.
was just like, well, that's an interesting one. Like, what made you do the gory bomb? And he's just like, well, I wanted something no one was really doing, and no one does the gory bomb. And I was like, that's a fucking good answer. Like you don't really
Yep.
see that, especially as a finish, but it's just a
Mhm.
weird thing to set up. You know what I mean? You got to get the guy on your back, grab the legs, and kind of fall
Yeah.
through. So it's kind of like more
It's
of
hard to
a
be quick with it. It's
yeah,
and that's one of the keys to like a good surprise finisher
mhm,
is how quick and smooth that you can just kind of set it up
mhm.
and execute it. But at the same time, like I feel like nowadays you do need a little bit of flash
Yes, yep,
to be able to get not to get over because like it doesn't like a move can get you over,
mhm.
but like you should be over anyway. It
Right.
should be
It's
the
like the
idea.
icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the sizzle to the steak.
Mhm.
Um, But, so Garrett was doing that, and then, one day at a show, one of the agents in the back was like, "Do the top rope elbow drop," and he's never done that before, but he did it, and he's been
Okay.
using it, and I'm just like, it looks good, like, you could tell you've never done it before, but you're making it work, but, like, I told him, I was like, "You want a really cool fucking, Hired Gun Inc. We're rough and tough fucking cowboys and ass kickers and all that shit." I was like, "You know what fucking move no one ever does that's like really good and is a really good finisher?" I go, do the fucking pile driver.
If you can do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit pile drivers out there. Um, but you know who this might be surprising. You know who had a fucking tremendous elbow drop and I know this because I took it? Steve King had one of the best elbow drops
I've never seen him
I've
come
ever
off the
seen.
top rope.
In like my second match ever. I was in a tag match and I was a Russian under a hood, and basically I was just taking heat the whole match, and fucking Steve King body slams me and he goes, "Stay here," and I go, "Okay," like I ain't fucking moving, and I saw that motherfucker go to the top rope, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" But it was fucking awesome. Like he had a great fucking top rope elbow drop.
That's funny. I wonder because you know who else like has a really, really good elbow drop that like you never hear mentioned in it is Perry Saturn. Like he used to
Mm.
drop an amazing fucking elbow that was
Mhm.
tight and just looked really fucking good. So I wonder if there was a fucking top rope elbow drop class over at Kowalski's at one point
There
and like
might have been. There might have been. Yeah, that's that and that is one of my fucking biggest regrets in wrestling is never meeting Kowalski. Like he was alive when I probably could have had the chance to,
mhm.
and it just never worked out for whatever reason. But yeah, that would have been really fucking cool.
Yeah, and I'm always jealous because I hear like Loca, he'll talk about like going up there with ISIS, and he'll always be
Mhm.
like, we're in there working, and we're the guys who got, Kowalski got out of his chair and got in the ring and was working with us. Like he didn't do that, and like that's his real fucking feather in the cap thing. And I'm like, that is so fucking cool.
It's so
And
cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
very jealous about that.
yeah, I just wouldn't even just like to have met him, let alone like be in the ring with him. But I always I've always used the term. I don't know if you see me do it, but I've always called Killer Kowalski my wrestling grandfather because
Oh
of
yeah,
you
no,
know what I
that's
mean.
cool. Yeah, yeah, no, it
So
makes sense too.
yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of people like don't realize because obviously New England it's more obvious, but like Central New York is like a Kowalski led like area,
Yeah,
because like everybody
definitely.
in 270 first started, everybody there was either trained by Killer Kowalski or trained by somebody who was trained by Killer Kowalski.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Mhm.
So like even me coming up, like everything I learned from hitting the ropes, man, like you could tell if someone was trained in fucking Syracuse because they're the only ones that hit the ropes like that.
Mhm.
You go anywhere
Mhm.
else and they'll do a flat back, grab the middle rope, and everyone's just like, Why the fuck are they doing that?" And we hit the ropes different.
Yep.
And so like so when 270 started, so it had all you like the local guys, but then they had like Eddie Edwards, Slick Wagner Brown, Kayla Sparks, Violent Flame, um, John Walters. So like there was just like a lot of Kowalski going on, and then
Mm.
even Raven Clark,
Yeah.
he was trained by Kowalski, Steve King. So it's just kind of funny that like being a New England thing, that like the Central New York area is just very Kowalski driven. So I've always kind of said that like all of us here from like Syracuse that you know Springate and Josh are our wrestling dads who always argued at the dinner table, and then Kowalski was our wrestling grandfather. That's kind of
Yeah,
always I
no,
always
I mean
thought.
that's pretty accurate. It is, it's one of those things where um the habits and the trainings were passed down from for us from Kowalski to Springate
Mhm.
to us with and then it's I always felt like though that was a place that when I was thinking of training, was definitely on my radar. It was definitely a place where I was thinking of going, but obviously with Springate School being so much more local, it just made more sense
Mhm.
to do that. But I never felt like I wasn't getting the same training, I guess. I always felt like if Springate was trained by him, then I'm kind of getting the same thing
Yeah.
for the most part.
Right.
Let's see, Ryan in the chat. I never knew Kowalski till I heard he passed away, but I love seeing his influence is all over. Like not even just in Central New York. Like you know, you don't have to look more than fucking NXT and WWE in general. Um, but just throughout the entire industry, like there's so many things he did and that we were trained to do that most people are just unaware of either where it comes from or like the other couple years ago or last year I was at training here in Florida and I did the shoot uh, headlock takeover. And we ever taught the shoot headlock takeover?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I did that, and the fucking trainer flipped out. He's like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "What do you mean you can't do that? Like, of course you can do that. It's just like it's not safe." I'm like, "It's safer than the other fucking
Yeah.
one. What are you talking about?" Like, it's one of those things where it looks so much more legit
Yes.
uh, that it yeah, see there some
Yeah.
clips.
Like when we're taught that, like I remember being told, they're just like, "Oh, the big leagues is like WWE, like they like it better when you do the headlock, like this. They like to see this one better instead of fucking
Mm-hmm.
dropping down and putting your hand down. They want to see fucking this one." So I used to just fucking hurt those motherfuckers over and shit,
Mm-hmm.
and going on the show, log up headlock takeover. They'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Let's fucking go with it, brother."
Come on, like we're working here. What are we doing?
um, did I just see something? Yes, he did. He did train SWB. Um, what was I gonna say? What were we talking about before Kowalski?
I don't even know, brother. We can. So this show is about to be about some road stories, right? That's
Yeah,
the
we do
idea.
like to work those in. Yes.
All right. So I've been up and down them highways, byways, brother. Uh,
Well, here's one thing I wanted to ask. I
mhm,
remember when I was coming in, starting to do stuff. We're doing, it might have been the first Chick and Wing Festival.
Oh
And
Christ.
so back then when I was doing the video and I was coming with my cousin, we
Hmm.
kind of like became friends with your sister. Didn't know she was your
Okay.
sister.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
um, my cousin especially really liked your sister, and so we would talk at the shows, and then we
Mm.
found out like she was your sister and stuff. And I remember we were hanging out and talking to her at that festival, and she was just like, "Oh, Axe, he's gonna be going up to like Canada. He's got like this booking up there, and he doesn't really go many places other than here, but so it's really cool that he's like going up to Canada and stuff." And I know when you were like the 2CW champion, you like
Mm.
didn't fucking go anywhere because
Yeah.
the 2CW title is really treated like a prestigious title. It's like, well, you're the champion. You can't be going fucking shit places, doing shit jobs, wrestling shit guys. So while you were the guy, you were the fucking guy.
Hmm.
Um, but aside from the Freddie Canada story, I haven't really heard much. What you did outside of 2CW. So let's hear some of that shit. What have you done outside of
Sure.
2CW?
Well, the Freddie Canada story is a fucking story.
We can start
Uh,
there.
yeah, I'm gonna start with there because and Freddie probably doesn't want me to tell this story,
Hashtag fuck Freddie.
but hashtag fuck Freddie, so I'm gonna fucking tell this story. So, and to go back to there, being the champion, yeah, like Josh was pretty adamant that I would not do other, and at the time I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense that he doesn't want his champion out there. This thing, but to look back on it, like it really was a detriment to me because it was. I mean, I was still very young, very very young, and it really kind of handicaps like my exposure out on the indie scene because I wouldn't go anywhere and I wouldn't do anything and I wouldn't like get my name out there and I wouldn't kind of do that. And it makes sense from Josh's point of view. Like, yes, you don't want your champion out there. You don't want your champion jobbing in the open. Totally get that, 100%. But as me as like independent contractor type of thing, it's like it didn't make sense if that was something that I was going to very much pursue as a career.
X, I
Oh,
think your mic's cutting on you.
hello? Check, 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 check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
You're kind of cutting in and out real bad there.
Oh shit.
It was like the
All right.
Verizon commercial.
All right. Well, anyway, basically, get to the Freddy story. So we'll just jump in there.
There we go.
So Freddie got hooked up with C4 up in Canada.
I know them.
Um, and he got hooked up with C4 in Canada through our good friend, Mr. Kevin Steen. And basically, Freddie was like, he was nervous because we had heard from like the Super Smash Brothers that you stop at the border. If you're working, you're going to get in trouble because you don't have working papers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Freddie the entire time is texting Steen, being like, okay, so what do I need to get over the border? Do I need papers? Do I need to lie? What do I need to do? And Steen's just like, it'll be fine. Just as Steen does. Like he's the coolest cat
Mm.
fucking ever. So he hits me up and he's like, hey Axe, like an opening on the show. Do you want to go to Canada? And I'm like, I've got nothing to do. It's a Saturday, like it's a free Saturday. I'm like, sure, Freddie. And for the record, like me and Freddie almost never wrote together. Like ever. But fucking every time we did, there's a story involved with it. Like I wrote down some stuff before this. I've got 5 fucking Freddy stories.
Oh shit.
And that might have been the only times we ever wrote together. So going up to Canada and yeah, Steven is one of the fucking nicest dudes ever. Like legit family dude, legit nice dude. And also like legit businessman. Like this is his job. And you don't fucking fuck with his job for anything. So we're driving up, and I got to meet Fred from Watertown because I'm in Syracuse, and then from Watertown, we're riding in Freddie's car up to the border.
Which is
And
important to the story.
very important to the story. So we get up to the border, and we got to hand over the driver's license. And
Oh, you're
so,
cutting again.
what is going on? Hold on, let me see if I can do anything.
All right.
See, you jinxed this by saying I had the fucking professional setup.
Yeah, that was my fault. That
I
was
don't
my
know.
fault.
I don't know the gimmick that you're working with, so I don't know if it's the software or what. But I'm going to keep going because I don't
Okay.
know what else to do. So we get up there, hand over the driver's license, and we got the enhanced licenses at the time to get over the border. And we look at he takes licenses, and you guys need to pull over right now. And so he's like, just go pull over there off to the side, and we're gonna have some just talk to you. And what is this all about? And so he hands us the license back, and as we're driving over, and as we're pulling, I go, Freddie, what's going on? And he goes, well, and you're like, and I'm like, well, he goes, well, a couple months ago, I was stopped at the border, and they searched my car and found something. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it wasn't mine, but they found something. And I'm like, did you want to tell me this before I fucking got in the car and decided to go, spend my fucking Saturday up here? And so they pull us over. And if you've ever been stopped at the border, you get out of the car and they ransack your car. Like they pull everything out of your fucking car.
Been there many times.
So they fucking pull everything out of this car. And then they take me and Freddie and they bring us into this warehouse. And there's nothing. It's a big fucking it's like an airplane hangar. There's nothing in there. And they're interviewing us one at a time. And at the time, I mean, this was early 2000s. So like at the time, I had my cell phone and I had my iPad or my iPod. And so they're grilling me why I have two phones. And I'm like, I don't have two phones. One of them's like, and they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they didn't find anything, but they found the wrestling gear. And then they searched Freddie's phone, which he's talking to Steen about how to get over the border previously. And this thing takes like 3 hours.
Oh.
We're stuck at the fucking border. And eventually they're like, you got to go back. Like they're not going to let us in. So we go back and we go to the American side. And now we get interrogated by the American side as to why we get rejected from Canada. And the whole time I'm like, fuck you, Freddie. What the fuck? Like, this took 8 fucking hours of my day, and we're not wrestling. We're not getting paid. Like, what the fuck? And apparently Freddie knew somebody at the American border. I guess all those fucking Watertown fucking know each other. But like, we got over and back in, but the whole time I was like, come on, man. Like, you didn't think this through at all. I will not say what they found in this car.
Yeah. They found enough. So when I finally went to C4 like years later, we got up there through Maddie D putting a good word in for us. So C4 used to do these kind of like smaller shows a couple times a year called Underground, where they're like not their actual shows, but they're like shows that bring in like more outside people normally on the show. So they booked me, Skyros, and Freddie. And we did a 6-man tag versus Uno, Dos, and I can't remember who the third guy was, but we did a 6-man against like 3 of their biggest guys. And so like Skyros is kind of like handling what's going on. He reached out to me and blah blah blah. So he tells me this, and I just go, "We're not riding with Freddie, are we?" He's like, "What?" I was like, "Look, man, I'm just saying Freddie might need to drive himself because I don't trust us being there with Freddie and then this happening. So if he gets turned around, I'd rather not be involved with it because I want to get up to Canada. I definitely want to work for C4.
Mhm.
So we ended up driving separate. Freddie had to do something anyway, so he had to drive himself up. And we got there first and we're doing stuff and we're just kind of waiting to see if Freddie would make it. We didn't know. And then like I guess Freddie did get like he did get hassled, but eventually he got over and he
Okay.
got up there and made the show. But it took him a minute, and I was just like, oh, thank fucking God. But if I remember correctly, he came up by himself, but he was leaving with someone from Canada because like they were doing a show together, like in New England the next day.
Okay.
So like because he was coming up alone but coming back with somebody else, that's also like a red flag. So they got
Ah.
like hassled
Yeah.
for that. Um, so yeah, it all ended up working out, but I guess Freddie was saying like he's good now, like whatever all that was, like it fell off and shit like that. But I kind of did like the same thing where I was freaking out, like, what do I do? Because I've always heard the stories like going into Canada, like, oh, you gotta lie, telling me doing the
Mhm.
seminar, you only have your gear because you know you're training, you're going up to like come down and get to Michigan because it's quicker, shit like that. But the problem
Gotcha.
was on the underground poster, this was like the only C4 poster I was ever put on. So like my face is actually on the poster. So
Oh,
there's like no
fuck.
lying and
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So I was freaking out. I'm asking, what do I do? And Brody, actually, he's the one who's just like, don't lie. He's like, if you lie, more shit's gonna go wrong. He's like, you're fine. You can
Mhm.
go up there and do it. Just tell them what you're doing. You know, tell them all the shit. Like you don't have to lie. Just tell them what's going on. And that's what I did. We're just like, we're going up to Canada. We're going here. The venue's here. We're wrestling. We're getting paid a couple of bucks for gas. We're not making much money, and blah blah blah. And they let us through because apparently, in between you and Freddie and me and Skyros, Vince McMahon decided to tell Canada, "Look, man, we're fucking coming up here to wrestle, and you can't stop us." So there's a new law where anyone coming up for WWE or similar can come up and wrestle without like papers or anything like that. Like it's legal for us to
Really?
do it. Yeah. Like it
Wow.
specifically says WWE or similar. So like if you're an independent wrestler, as long as you're not making like 5 grand or whatever the max is, like you can just come up, get paid, and do whatever. I guess they were saying something. There might be some caveat if you're in like a venue selling beer, which what fucking Canadian wrestling venue isn't going to sell beer? Like I
Fucking
heard that
A.
was a thing, but
Yeah.
that never came up. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure I got flagged because every time we went over, 9 times out of 10, we got pulled over for there. And because like um I went up there one time for Alpha One, and I know this told the story before, so I'll be quick about it. But they pretty much pulled me aside because the woman in the counter in the booth didn't understand wrestling. She only knew like
Mm.
WWE, so she assumed I was coming over to wrestle in front of thousands of people for thousands of dollars,
Okay.
and she didn't believe me that I didn't have a contract and that I wasn't making a lot of money. So she made me go talk to like the revenue service of the border. So I walk into this room, not very big, but like at the end of it, there's like this desk, and in there, in that room, on one side, there's a group of people who look like they're out of like they're just Italians in like tracksuits, man. They look like the fucking mafia on one
Okay.
side,
Right,
and on
right.
the
Yeah.
other side, sitting on the bench, is a family of Amish people. And so I walk up and I'm talking to them and I'm explaining to them, because they're just like, well, why are you booked to wrestle? Well, somebody asked me to come up and wrestle. Why did they ask you to come up and wrestle? I go, I don't know, man. They like my stuff. How do they see your stuff? I'm like, I'm on the internet. You can search me. So you're not getting paid? I'm getting paid like 50 bucks. Why only 50 bucks? I go, I don't know, man. I'm not that popular. Like, what do you want me to tell you? I'm not over. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm only worth like 50 bucks.
You had to tell Canada I'm not fucking over.
Yeah, I'm not over, man. Like, I just got here. There's only like my third Canada booking. Like, cut me some slack. So they're just like, well, you really should have something. And I'm like, well, I don't, because it says like I can come up here and wrestle and it's fine.
Mm.
And they really didn't like that because they were like really trying to like put the fucking squeeze on me, but
Mm,
like I knew enough, and I don't know if they thought I was being an asshole, but I was just like, I know I can do this. So finally they let me
mhm.
go. And then every time after that, I would just be like, we have to leave like 20 minutes earlier because they're going to pull us over.
Right,
And
right.
they always would. And I think there's only one time though where we had to pull it to that warehouse, and that's when they tore the car apart. And I was there with Skyros and uh, probably Burdick. I think he's usually came with us, but
Mhm.
we're there with a few people, and I'm sitting there. This is what I was doing, the Messiah of old school gimmick, and they're just like pulling shit out, and this woman comes up into the room we're sitting, like that room where it looks like you're waiting for you to get your oil changed. She holds
Yeah.
up this duct taped book with Jim Cornette's face on it, and she goes, "Do you want to explain this book to me and why it's taped closed and I can't open it?"
I
And
sure don't.
I'm like, I mean, I could, but you won't believe me. I go,
Mm.
it's closed because it's supposed to be my wrestling Bible, but it's really a love story by the guy who wrote the Notebook, and I don't want fans to open it and read it. She's just like, oh, okay. And then we were free to go.
It's
So
stupid enough to be real.
yeah,
Like, that's part of it.
she's like, no man in the right mind would would lie about that. Ironically, the time we went with Ethan, we got right through. All right, you're gonna love this fucking story, X.
Okay.
Um, I think I might have told it, but I don't care. X is gonna pop for this. So, um, a couple years ago, a place was supposed to run a show in my hometown, Oneida, and I was gonna
Mm,
wrestle Keith Lee.
okay.
And what happened was somebody, C4 actually, was just like, "Hey, we want to bring in Keith Lee, him and some other guy," and he's like, "Is there anybody like um around there who would want to use them so we can all go in on bringing them in and like split the cost?"
Right, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I reached out and I'm like, "Yeah," and not only that, but I got a match booked against them. So that show ended up getting canceled. So Keith Lee just ended up doing like a training seminar or something. So he got paid for
Okay.
doing something.
Yeah.
So we're going up to Canada, and Nasty Kevin Burdick is driving. In the front seat is Keith Lee. In the back
Mhm.
seat is me behind the driver, Mike
Okay.
Skyros in the middle, and on the other side, Dick Justice.
Oh, fuck, man. There ain't no room in that car.
And just a hatch full of fucking gear bags.
Sure, right. Yeah.
So we get up to the border, we're all handing our shit. And so they start going through the questions. Have you ever been to Canada before? Kevin, yes. Me, yes. Skyros, yes. Dick, yes. Keith Lee, no. Like, they're like, are you just coming up for the day and coming back? Kevin Burdick, yes. Me, yes. Skyros, yes. Dick, yes. Keith Lee, no, I'm staying overnight. Fuck. Do you have you ever had any trouble with the law? Kevin Burdick, no. Me, no. Skyros, no. Dick Justice, no. Keith Lee, yes.
Fuck, man.
At that point, we're all just staring at him like, what the fuck? And the guy at the booth does the double take. He's like, really? He's like, yeah, it was just like parking tickets. And guy's like, oh, okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Do
Okay.
you have any firearms or weapons or drugs on you?
Motherfucker.
Kevin Burdick, no. Me, no. Skyros, no. Dick Justice, no. And then we all lean into Keith Lee, just staring at him. Finally, Keith Lee's like, no. We're like, oh, thank fucking
Oh,
God.
thank God.
Guy's going through our passports, hands them back, and he's just like, all right, guys, have a good trip. We fucking take off, and we're just like, how the hell is this the one time
Mhm.
they look at this carload of motherfuckers and aren't like, pull over? You guys
Right,
got
right.
something
Yeah.
on you.
This fucking group in the fucking car.
The only thing I could think of is they just saw like Keith, me, and Dick, and they're just like,
Yeah. No.
don't even want to,
Move along. Move along.
don't want to deal with that
I
smell.
have one other Canada story.
Oh,
And
okay,
and it's a Canada story where I thought this was a big break. All right.
big break. Okay,
So I get invited, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and we had just started dating, like maybe a couple months in. I get invited up with Springate and Roca, and they're going up, and they're going to go wrestle for Ron Hudson. Uh,
Oh, okay. Right on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For those of you who don't know, Trained Edge, uh, Christian, all those guys. So
Was that
like
that
he's,
VTW place?
I can't remember the name of the promotion, but
Because I remember him being a champion up there, and it was like a V, a T, and a W. It was like a lightning shape or something. I
could
remember him
be,
wrestling up there. Yeah.
could be. But basically, like they were going up, they were doing like a tournament type of situation, and I was going up to meet Ron to try to get in, type of thing, and like he had connections like all over at that point. So it was a big deal to go up there. So we go up there. My wife's going up there. We get up there, and the tournament. So Springgate is wrestling Loca in round one, and then he's going to round two, you know, in two for world title tournament or whatever. So we go and we meet, and I meet Ron, and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, you're a baby face, right?" And looking at me, because I'm, whatever. And I'm like, "No, I'm a heel." And he goes, "Huh?" And then just kind of walks away. I'm like, "Oh, well, that was." So I'm watching, and Springgate and Loca are going, and they're doing a decent match, and finish gets fucked because, uh, well, Springgate was going over anyway, but I guess they were supposed to do a thing. You, you never tell the fucking ref, for all of you out there, you never tell the fucking ref, count as close to 3 as possible, but I'm kicking out. You fucking never do that because the ref is always going to count 3 and is always going to ring the bell and it's always going to get fucked. So, of course, that happens, and the ref counts 3. And in the middle of the ring, because, honestly, like, Springgate was trying to put Loca over. That was kind of the idea, even though he was going over. So, in his mind, the finish got fucked, and Loca didn't get over the way he was supposed to get over. So, in the ring, Springgate starts arguing with the ref. He won, which is never a good look, ever. You never argue that you fucking won. Um, but then they get to the back, and it's heated, like
Oh,
really heated, to the point where like Spring, like let's step outside, let's fucking go, and the ref's just like, what are you upset about? You won, and you were supposed to win, and he's just like, you fucked the fin. So it was a whole thing. And like Loca's trying his best. He's just like, we told you that we were gonna kick out. Why did you count 3? Like he's trying to be logical in like an illogical situation. And I'm just sitting back like, my name's Paul and the rest of the team y'all. All right. Like I'm fucking not at all. And Ron comes up and buries Springgate, buries Loca, buries the ref. And then just kind of looks at me and walks away. And I'm just like, well, I ain't getting work here. This ain't happening. And then so the whole ride home, everyone's pissed, except we stop. And at the time, this was a rarity. We're over the border, and there's a goddamn queen. All right, there ain't no difference in Central New York at the time. So we're stopping. Everyone's getting a blizzard. Everyone's kind of happy getting their ice cream. But am I fucking up? Is this mic like cutting out a shit ton?
yeah, you're doing all right. You want to try? You want me to try closing out and then hitting the link
Yeah,
again and calling back in?
let's try that
Yeah, see if we
because
can
this
reset it.
is gonna be terrible.
Yeah, Jason X will be right back.
All right. All right, let's try this. See if this is any better.
All right, so far so good.
All right. Anyway,
All right, back up to tell the last story again. Okay, go back to you're reaching the border.
so we're reaching the border, and last story was tough to understand. Here is the cliff notes of the last story. Went to meet Ron, fucking shit went down. Springgate and Loka had a match where the finish got fucked. There was a heated fight afterwards, and basically everything got fucked. But we got to the border, and we got and everyone was happy because we didn't have any Dairy Queen and such. So we all got blizzards. It was great. My mic work? No? Fuck. All right. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know. Nope. Do. It's always something, and from the hip.
All right, I switched mics, so I don't know if this is any better. Hello? Can you hear
Hello?
me? Is this better?
So far, I mean, you're quieter, but you're not breaking up.
Okay. I switched mics, so I don't know what the fuck was going on. You sound like you're in a tunnel now, kid. It's better so far. All right. I'm using like the laptop computer. Like I spent a lot of money on that setup, and so like what the fuck? You get what you pay for, I guess. Anyway, let's move on from Canada, because fuck Canada.
Oh shit! I guess Canada's nothing but issues. Got
Pretty
to be the
much.
devil within, says Dave McCormick.
Ah, heyo.
Shit, that had me thinking of something. I'm gonna say that story was all Locavita's fault because it seems Locavita is followed with controversy. The first time I ever did top rope, it was like
Okay.
a triple shot weekend because they were doing a fair, so they were doing like small shows like 3 or 4 times a day, like every like half hour and then another half hour or whatever it was. So I
Yeah.
went up there. It was me, Loca, Freddie, and Isis. And my first match of the first night, I wrestled Loca, and the match was over. Loca went over, and then the ref comes over to me and he goes, "Oh, he said to give him a power bomb." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm only been wrestling for like maybe 2 years. I'm so brand new.
Okay.
So Loca helped train me. Loca told me to power bomb him. I'm gonna power bomb him. So I go over, pick him up, I give him a power bomb, and I leave. I get to the back, and the fucking promoter just looks at me and goes, "What the fuck was that?" I was like, "What? What'd I do?" He goes, "What was that fucking shit?" I
Mm.
was like, I don't know. He goes, "Why are you going to business for yourself and fucking power bombing him?" I'm just like, he told me to. He was like, "Great, now I gotta have you guys wrestle each other all fucking weekend." And I was just like, I'm sorry. We didn't wrestle the rest of the weekend, but I wrestled like 9 matches and I only won 1. So I don't know if that'll tell you anything.
So did you ever get clarification as to what the fucking issue was?
Yeah, he was mad that I went into business for myself and I did a post-match beatdown and I wasn't told to. Loca Vita told me to power bomb him because Loca wanted an easy weekend and not to have to wrestle anybody new, and he was trying to get an angle where he would just wrestle me all weekend.
Oh, I fucking pop for that. That's some fucking local Vita shit right there. That's awesome.
Yep. So he got me heat because he was fucking trying to book his own shit, and then I got accused of trying to book my own shit.
I love it. That's great.
So I'm putting the blame on Locavita in your story too, because it's
Yeah,
just
no, okay, yeah, we'll roll with that. We'll roll with that.
um. All right, so you've been the worker Locavita, yeah, he's a fucking worker, all right. Um, aside from Canada, did you hit any other territories, any other notable places early
Yeah,
on?
so I did this one show, and it was only one show, and it was a fucking bizarre situation. Um, in Illinois, I did a
Illinois.
yeah, I did a show in Illinois.
Holy shit.
Um, so to kind of tell the story, I kind of have to tell this. My wife never really knew her dad ever.
Okay.
He's just not in the picture. But when my daughter was born, he kind of tried sort of to get in the picture a little bit. And he knew this guy who was a wrestler. And so he thought that would be kind of a way in to like hook up with this guy who was a wrestler. And I guess this guy used to be like a job guy in ECW, or he claims to. I feel like everybody kind of just claims to be a job ECW guy.
Yeah.
It it's just kind of everybody gets the T-shirt type of situation.
Yeah, I feel like if you're in any major ECW market, like Philadelphia, New England, Chicago, you're gonna bump into a guy who's like, "Oh, I was a jobber back." It was Eastern Championship Wrestling, but I was there.
Right, right, yeah, exactly. But so this guy, his name he was the Magic Man Jackson. Was his name, and I'd never heard of him before, but apparently he had done a couple tours in Japan. Um, is there any specific reason you're building Detroit, Michigan? Just the rock and roll gimmick. That was it. Like
Detroit
Jason
Rock
X.
City.
Exactly. That's all. Um, so he gives me his number to call him because he did a couple tours in Japan. I think he was with uh, Noah. I want to say Noah. He did like a couple tours in Noah. And so I'm thinking like okay, well like maybe he's got an in. Like who the fuck knows, right? And so I call this guy and he answers the phone speaking Japanese. And it like completely fucking throws me off. Like
Konnichiwa.
yeah. And he does it like really fast, like when he's speaking. And I'm just like, hello? And then he speaks another sentence in Japanese. Uh what? And then he just goes, "Do you speak English?" And I go, "No," because I'm like fucking frazzled and I don't know what the fuck is going on. So, like, and I'm just like, I'm looking for this wrestler guy, and he goes, "Oh," and then like he like breaks kayfabe, and like actually, I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, I have no clue what's going on. And I tell him, I'm like, "Hey, I know this guy. He gave me your number. It's my wife's dad. We're visiting family down there. What do you got?" Kind of thing. And so he goes, "Oh, okay, well, I work with this local promotion. I can get you on this show." And I'm like, "Cool." And he's like, and he does the whole thing like, "Well, you never know who's watching, brother. So, come work for me for nothing and you might get a spot." And I'm like, "I'm gonna be there anyway, so I don't give a flying fuck. I'll bring my gear." So I bring my gear down. By the way, is the mic better? Is it working a lot better? No. Yes.
Nope.
Microphone issues.
No, Mike was going okay.
For God's sakes, we'll have to do this again. I'll have to do a part 2 on this fucking show. But so we get down there, and I meet this guy, and we're wrestling at this place that's an indoor soccer stadium. So
Indoor soccer. Okay.
yeah, it's an indoor soccer stadium, and it's kind of like connected to like a Chuck E. Cheese at the same time. So there's a fucking ball pit and a soccer stadium, and there's all sorts of shit going on. It sounds like phone in water. Holy fuck! What is going on?
I think I have an idea.
Maybe I should just do it from the phone, like all the other.
I mean, you could try.
Yeah, we'll try it. What the fuck? All right, folks. Stay tuned.
Your stuff is too good.
Too good, apparently. All right, hold on. I'll be right back.
All right. Perfect streak for the show. It's always something. And he's got such good stories. It's a shame. Hopefully this works. Yeah, I don't think it's a mic just switched. I don't think it is either.
It's gotta be your browser or something, or that program.
It's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, something to do.
Have to think of a different thing to use going forward. Yeah.
There. How's that? We're gonna try this, folks. We're gonna try this. You can do all the fucking fancy investments and all your shit, but like, good
Now,
lord.
now you look like all my other guests.
There we are. Is that better? At least audio quality wise?
I mean, yeah, you're not cutting in and out now.
All right, we're going to fucking roll with this then. Whatever.
That's fucking crazy, man. Yeah, my only other. Yes, you sound great, X. Okay, I'm glad because my other thing I was gonna be like, because Kevin Graham and I, when we first did this, we just used this program for the video, and then we used Discord for the audio. So it was like way different. And you're about the only person I know who I can be like, well, let's just talk on Discord. But
yeah.
Everyone else isn't gonna have a Discord.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
let's we'll roll with this, and then next time we'll figure it out because I can already tell you I'm not going to get through all the stories that I've been wanting to tell already.
That's fine. I'll put you on a part 2 list.
We'll do
so
a part 2.
You and Dick need to come back. Okay. So
all right.
I definitely want to hear the rest of the story. So guy speaking Japanese and you're trying to come down and you never know who's watching. Hot dog and a handshake.
Hot dog and a handshake. Right. So we get to this place and it is an indoor soccer stadium that's like connected to like a Chuck E. Cheese. So let's like you've got like a fucking indoor soccer stadium with a ball pit like right next door.
I've been to those. I've wrestled in those.
And so like I get to this place and the guy is like, we've got you working this guy, and he points to this guy over here and he looks like a pile of shit. Like he looks like like Necro Butcher, but like fucking he can't work. Which I mean
if you're comparing that to Necro Butcher,
which isn't far from Necro Butcher in general. But
he's Necro Butcher, but worse.
if possible. So I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, all right, I guess. And then, like, as the night goes on, he goes, oh, they want him for a different angle, and we're going to give you somebody else. And I'm like, cool. Who do you got? And they're like, well, have you ever heard of Matt Sydal? And I'm like, what? Yeah, I fucking heard of Matt Sydal. He goes, well, we got his brother Mike.
I was just going to say, well, we have his third cousin twice removed.
Right. No, so we got his brother Mike. And I'm just like, okay, like at this point, I don't care, like whoever. And so I worked Mike Sydal, and this was before, like, I don't know if you know this about him, like, apparently he worked like CZW or some shit and took like this really terrible move.
Oh, the fucking top rope flipping back moonsault Styles Clash from fucking, I think it was Brooklyn's CKNY or whatever his name was.
Yeah, and isn't that guy like not alive anymore?
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago. Yeah. But no, CZW used to do this aerial assault match, and on the ring post they'd have like a big wooden box and a platform, so you could do bigger jumping moves than just a turnbuckle.
Sounds great.
Yep. So he was, so picture him on the top rope with the guy in a Styles Clash, and he does a moonsault with the guy and lands in the Styles Clash. That's the move. And he fucked up Sydal's head and neck real bad on it.
Real bad. But this was before that.
Okay.
So he was very mobile. Oh Jesus, my phone's falling. He was very mobile and very cool to work with and very good too, which is a shame because he got all fucked up and everything from that move. But we had a match and it was cool, and the guy the Magic Man was on commentary, and he was putting me over like on commentary and stuff. And before, he's like, "What have you done?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I did like," and I think I like had just done like the Chikara thing, like right before that. Okay. And so like I was like, "Oh, I've been in Chikara, I've been over here, I'm world champion over here, this, that, and the other thing." And so he's putting me over, and he goes, and the match was basic but okay. Like nothing got really fucked up, and it was, I think we were like on second, so like, you're doing second match type of shit or whatever. And finally he's just like, okay. And then after the match, he comes back and the guy shakes my hand and he's great. And then he just fucking disappears. Like he just is gone. And I'm just like, so is there like a follow-up to this? or is this it, or like I don't really know, and I just get like basically ghosted at that point. Like the guy doesn't answer any calls, he doesn't do anything, and apparently what had happened was, and unbeknownst to me, because when he was asking what I had done, and I had talked about I had worked with Spike Dudley a lot, and so he had told me he has a lot of heat with Spike Dudley.
Seriously?
Yeah, and I go, what do you mean you have a lot of heat with Spike Dudley? And he goes, apparently back in the ECW days, he was working with this guy, and he was booking a bunch of ECW guys, and then they didn't get paid, and apparently he ghosted me because he thought I was going to tell Spike where he was, and that it was a fucking wacky ass story. Like, but I was just like, all right, man, I whatever. Like, I was in town, I worked the fucking gig, and it was fine.
Next UCW show, you pulling Spike, be like, hey, I work this guy, and I happen to know you have heat with him. I just want you to know, even though you live in Massachusetts, he's all in Chicago. So if you want to go down there and beat the fuck out of him, I can tell you the soccer field he runs at.
The best, I just remembered this. The best part was I asked Spike. I was like, hey, man, like, do you know who, like, the Magic Man Jack Sin is? And he's like, I have no fucking idea who he is. And it's just like, go fucking figure. Of course, pro wrestling, ladies and gentlemen.
Holy shit, that's fucking nuts. Fucking Spike. I fucking love Spike Dudley. Oh,
Michinoku Pro says the agent. That's where he worked.
For 4 years?
I guess so.
And so that's why he has. Okay, so he answered the phone speaking Japanese, but he's not Japanese.
Correct. Very much not Japanese. Very much not Japanese.
Does he like use that? Does he like use that to lead into like, oh, sorry, I'm just so used to wrestling in Japan. It's just
yeah. He's one of those guys.
Oh,
yeah.
Holy fuck. So was anybody watching this match, like you said?
Fuck no. No. No, there was fucking like 75 people in the crowd, maybe.
Paul Heyman wasn't one of them?
No. Of course
Jim Ross wasn't scouting?
No, you never know who's watching, brother, except fucking nobody's watching. Fucking ever. So don't worry about it.
Have you ever been to a show and like you found out somebody weird was watching? Because like one time when I was up in Canada, I was wrestling for IWS in Montreal, and so we're doing stuff. I did my match, and while I was there, they were kind of building me up to like go be a contender for the world title, which eventually that was my last match. They stopped booking me after I wrestled the champion, but they were pushing me pretty good. So I'm in the back, and someone's like, oh, hey, well, you know, at least Pat Patterson like watched you wrestle, ha 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 ha. And I just went, ha ha, yeah. What? They're like, fucking Pat Patterson's downstairs. I was like, what? And I thought they were fucking ribbing me, like, for sure. And then the next day on Twitter, on Facebook and Twitter, someone posted a picture of Pat Patterson like leaning up, like on this pillar, like watching the show in the crowd, like way in the back. And I was like, fucking Pat Patterson just watched me wrestle. And then it dawned on me. So we're in Montreal, Quebec, and at the time, IWS was running a place called Club Unity, which is a gay bar.
Sure. Okay.
And
it all makes sense now.
Yeah. And I'm just like, of course, if there is any place in the world where Pat Patterson would watch me wrestle, it would be a gay bar in Montreal. A gay bar. But like, that was just so weird. I was like, fucking Pat Patterson was there. You know?
That's fucking wild. Yeah, I mean, like let's see. Yeah, like Ryan says in the chat, like Edge was at one of our shows.
Yes.
That was cool. That was cool as fuck. Other than that, no, I don't think so. I mean, not that I'm aware of. Like, I'm sure a lot of people watch those like iPay-per-views that we did and shit like that, but like nobody specific that I know of note or anything like that. I did do a I've talked about it before, but like I don't know where I've talked. Listen, folks, concussions are a fuck of a thing. Like I don't remember a lot of shit. Uh, but I did do a TNA tryout with
Oh,
Freddie
oh,
at
that's
one
right.
point.
Yeah, you did the gut check way before I did mine. I remember you
Yeah,
telling us about that at training. Yeah,
yeah.
how'd that go?
Fuck D'Lo Brown, I'll tell you that much. Um, but Jeff Jarrett did watch
Okay.
our match or whatever. I've only had one concussion, never wish that out. Yeah, I've had about 12 that I know of.
The only one that
So,
I know of, I got from Necro Butcher.
oh, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this is another me and Freddie on the road story
Yes.
where
Hashtag fuck Freddy.
hashtag fuck Freddie. Where we were driving up. I can't even fucking remember where it was. It was somewhere up in. I think it was north. I think it was north. They were going and they were doing the gut check, and we had talked to Wagner Brown who had done one, and he said it was a good experience. So we're like, okay. And right before then, Loka had done a WWE tryout, which I knew about,
Which was also miserable, according to him.
according to
Jim
him.
Ross, yeah.
But from what he had said was that somebody, like one person from that tryout, was guaranteed a contract. Was the gimmick. So me and Freddie kind of went in with like, well, they're going to pick somebody from this tryout, and it turns out like at the time I didn't know like Carr was there, Cage was there, but like I hadn't met them yet,
Okay.
so like that was just kind of a thing that was kind of funny after the fact. But we go up there and we do this tryout, and first it was unorganized as fuck, which tells you a lot about TNA in general. Like they didn't even have a sign to where the fucking locker room was. So like we're just kind of like walking around the building, like I don't fucking know what's going on, and we ended up changing in like a bathroom somewhere because we didn't know where the locker room was, and then we eventually found it. We get out to the ring. Oh, and fucking Bobby Fish was in that tryout too. I forgot about that.
Oh, well, yours was way more star-studded than mine was.
So we go to this tryout, and basically like they start off with doing just basic drills like headlock, shoot off, universal, that type of shit. And of course, I get paired with the one dude who's like a backyarder that doesn't know fucking anything. And so like I'm basically like talking and walking
Mhm.
through this fucking thing. And it's the drizzling shits. And it's awful. And I'm just like, this fucking guy. And they kick him out eventually.
Really?
Like, yeah. And so it was like a $200 sign up or some shit like that to do it. And D'Lo's just like, well, that's the most fucking expensive T-shirt that dude's ever bought.
Dude,
Is
that's what I always fucking say. My TNA gut check shirt's only like a fucking large or something, but I will not
Mhm.
throw that away because that is a $200 fucking
That is a
T-shirt.
$200 fucking T-shirt,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm fucking pissed because like the only impression I've made so far is with this backyard dude who got himself fucking kicked out because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And so next they're doing matches, and they're like, you get a 4-minute match. And they're like, how long does it take you to call a 4-minute match? And D'Lo's like, 4 minutes. So you get
Ew.
4 minutes to call your 4-minute match
Holy
and go and
shit.
do it.
Do you remember what
And he's
year
got,
this was?
oh fuck, 2010, 2009? No, wait, no,
It
I
was
didn't.
definitely one of those because I was training in 09 to 010.
2000. It had been 2008 because I hadn't met my wife yet. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
2008. And so 4 minutes to call a 4-minute match, and then he tags me, and he's like, I need a referee, and I'm like, I'm volunteering because I've made no impression whatsoever, so I need to try something to get noticed, right? And so I'm reffing all these matches, and every single fucking person is doing 12-minute matches,
Ooh.
and it's brutal. Like it's like to the point where like he's just like stop, Like if this was TV, you're fired immediately. Like you've gone way too long. You've gone way too long. This, that, and the other thing. And so eventually, and at the same time, like I've taken pre-workout to get ready for this thing, so I'm fucking like jittering out my ass, and there's no water there, so I'm like jittering and dehydrated and just like I'm about to pass out. And they're like, okay, you haven't worked a match. They point to me and they're like, so we're going to have you work with this guy who does ring crew for us. And so basically this kid does ring crew for TNA, and his payment for doing ring crew is he gets to do these gut checks. That's his payment.
That's a shitty ass fucking payment.
I mean, it's pro wrestling. What the fuck are you gonna do? You know? I'm trying to fucking stabilize my camera here, folks, because it's my phone. So just give me a second. But anyway, so there we go. That should be better. So anyway, so this kid does these gut check challenges, and that's all he does. And he's a scrawny kid. He's got fucking no chance, like zero chance to fucking make it whatsoever.
Mm.
And they know that. Like they know they're just fucking hamstringing this kid. So he's like, go to the back, you get 4 minutes. And so I go to this kid, I'm going to go, what do you do? And he goes, I wear a mask. I go, great. Great. I go, here's what we're going to do. I go, we're going to lock up. You're going to back me into the corner. And then you're going to do a clean break. Then we're going to lock up again. I'm going to back you in the corner, and then I'm going to slap you in the face as hard as I fucking can. And he goes, okay. And then we're going to lock up again. I'm going to back you in the corner, and I'm going to go to slap you in the face as hard as I fucking can. And you're going to move, and you're going to get 3 moves on me. So pick those 3 moves, whatever you want to do. And he goes, okay. And I think he picked like an elbow, a clothesline, and like a drop kick or some shit. And I go,
okay, good. I thought it was going to be like a DDT,
right.
a shooting star press.
And then I go, and then you're taking heat. And he goes, okay. And I go, and then you get 1 move for a comeback. What do you want that to be? And he's just like, and I can't remember I think he did like a crossbody or some shit. Okay. And then I go, and then what we're going to do is you're going to shoot in, or you're going to shoot me in. You're going to go for a backdrop. And I'm going to fucking like schoolboy you and pin you with a fuck finish on the ropes. And that's going to be it. That's the match. That's it. That's all we're going to do. Because it's 4 fucking minutes. Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Type of thing. And so we go in, we do it, and he does an okay job. And we do it. And after the words, D-Lo goes, so how do you think you did? I go, I think we hit the time. He goes, well, your time was 3:59. On a 4-minute match. And he looks at me and he goes, you're good. You're really good. He goes, you came out here, you reffed all those matches, and then you went back and you had the best match out here. You don't look like you belong on TV. Get out of my ring. That was the fucking most brutal, like, slap in the fucking face that I've ever received in the pro wrestling business ever. And it's one of those things that like has always stuck to me that like it doesn't fucking matter how good you are, how good you do, how good of a wrestler you are. If they don't think you belong on TV, you have no fucking chance whatsoever.
Holy fuck. So
yeah.
When I did my gut check, I didn't have D'Lo Brown. I had Simon Diamond. He was our guy. D'Lo was still doing them, but for some reason Simon Diamond was doing them that day. Nothing real as far as people goes there. Probably the 2 people I met and like hung out with and like kind of like bonded with that day was a guy named Hoss Haygood, wrestles for like Maryland and stuff. And I met Jessie K, who is the first female referee in WWE. The one who always refs like for Edge. Yeah, she got signed as a ref, but I met her there she was still wrestling. So it was still real unorganized and shit like that. Like where we're in Philadelphia and we were in a theater. So the ring is on the stage and then there's the fucking theater seats.
Mm.
And so I don't remember much of like how it went. It might have been similar, but I remember I had a match against some guy who was doing like a wild Samoan Savage gimmick. He had like face paint and all that shit. And he gave
Mhm.
me a Samoan drop, and I landed weird, and I shattered a back tooth on it.
Oh fuck, brother. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then all that was going on, and like I got good feedback, like good presence, and this the kind of stuff I usually get, like, oh, you got a good presence, you got good wing awareness, and blah blah blah. And then so Simon Diamond's like, all right, guys, like you'll get a follow up, you'll get an email within like a week or two, and blah blah blah. So I'm at home, I get that email. And same thing. He's like, you got good presence in the ring. You know what you're doing. There's no mess ups, nothing bad. I would just say, like, you need to get your body into TV shape.
Mhm.
So I messaged her back. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm doing that, but like, I'm not trying to get like jacked. Like, I'm going for like the Terry Gordy thing and stuff like that. And he just went, um, he's like, TV is a body business. You'll never get on TV looking the way you look. And I was just like, cool.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow,
Yeah.
because that's all that shit's like genetics, and you can't help a lot of that, and I
Yep.
mean, unless you're willing to do some other things, but like, it's one of those things that, I mean, that's the one good thing about like today's day and age in wrestling is like that kind of shit has kind of gone off the
Yeah.
window a little bit. I mean, there's still a bit of that, obviously, but like, it's not like the early 2000s where if you weren't jacked to the gills, like you've got no fucking chance whatsoever.
When I came into the business in like 2010s, that was the epitome of cookie cutter wrestling.
Mhm.
WWE, ROH, TNA, they're all really jacked dudes, tanned in Randy Orton trunks. Like that was everybody.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Mhm.
And I had this conversation with Strangler a few years in where he's just like, you're kind of like where you're at, like you're going one or two ways. Like, first and foremost, I was fucking proud as fuck of myself, like back then, my body transition, because like I said, when I first started training, I was 398 pounds of bagel bites and surge and shit. My
Right.
first match, I was 280 pounds. Like, I
Mhm.
slimmed the fuck down and
Yeah.
shit like that. And after a couple years, like you could see some definition coming in my arms and my shoulders and shit, and I was feeling good. And Strangler's just like, you got to pick a way. You either got to be like that jacked guy or you got to be like that big thick guy. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
never wanted to be a jacked guy. I was
Right.
like, you take a look at the Vans, like, man, we're all fucking truck drivers. Like, we're all fucking woodsmen. Like, we don't have the genetics to look like Psycho Sid. I was like, on our best day, we're Terry Gordy, but at the end of the day, we're all fucking Big Van Vaders. Like, it's just how it is, or fucking, along those lines. So he was like, all right, just fill out, you take like half your weight, and that's how much protein you need in a day and shit like that. And I
Mhm.
remember trying so hard because I was in a singlet and I was just like, I was trying to get into shape for Terry Gordy trunks, the high waisted trunks. And once my, abdomen was in the right shape, I could wear those trunks and get away with them. And I was so proud of myself.
Mhm.
But holy shit, man, it was a lot of wrestling's a TV business. Wrestling's a TV business. You got to look this way. And I was just like, ain't gonna happen. And the thing was, I didn't want to. I wanted
Mhm.
to be this, and that's what I did. I guess.
Yeah, and I always kind of admired like those dudes like even like a Kevin Graham or somebody who like I would never have the balls to go shirtless in wrestling. So like even yourself, like I'm just like it's such a like I mean always kind of being the fat kid growing up and that sort of thing. Like it's such a self-conscious thing to
Yeah.
try to get over. So like anybody who has the confidence to do that, like I'm always like hats off to you, because like I had to do the singlet. Like I was always like, as a fan growing up, I was always a Shawn Michaels kid. But when it came to gear, I'm like, I'm a Bret Hart guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. When I first started wearing those trunks, someone came up and like, "Whoa, how do you feel?" And I just went, "I feel so naked and exposed right now. My brain can't handle it." Because I was just in trunks and my chest was out, and like I'm so used to that singlet hugging me and all that shit. I was just like, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna do this. And I remember there was plenty of shows I was on. I was the heel, but like I would come out, I'd either be wearing like my button-up shirt or just like a Punisher Vance like t-shirt or something. I'd get in the ring, I'd do whatever, stand in the corner, I'd take my shirt off, and there's always those assholes being like, put your shirt back on. And I'm just like, fuck you.
Well, it was weird because like when Steen got popular, that's when like the t-shirt wrestler thing came up. And when Steen was doing it, I'm just like, okay, well, there's like a viable thing of like doing like the sleeveless t-shirt. But then there came the stigma of like, oh, he's just a t-shirt wrestler.
Yes.
Like that whole thing came up. And then after a while, like, so for a minute there, I was doing a lot of the hardcore gimmicks. So like the t-shirt thing came in handy just to keep yourself safe.
Yep.
For the most part. If you're doing tacks or you're doing any barbed wire or any shit like that, the t-shirt's gonna save your skin. Literally. Yeah. So like when I was doing like the Watertown Eye pay-per-view match with ISIS, and we were doing the Stairway. Oh, well, it was supposed to be Stairway to Hell. Then he won the title, and then we were just doing a ladder match. But we had planned on doing gimmicks anyway. The T-shirt was there to protect from the barbed wire and the thumbtacks and all that kind of shit. But like after the fact, back in the day, the old the Burning Hammer message board that was on there was always just like, hey, it's just a t-shirt wrestler, and it's like you mother like, and at the time I was like, you motherfuckers, but at the same time, just like it's the smarter move, like it's just the smarter move.
And like that's another thing now, like nowadays, like that t-shirt wrestler thing, like GCW is fucking built around that shit. Thank you, Ma. Like,
well,
a lot of those places, like that's a popular thing now. It's like the most over shit now is either the super indie high flying or the fucking deathmatch guys, So it's like, can you do either one of those? You'll get a prominent spot pretty, I want to say easy, but like there's more options out there for you.
And I as somebody who's out of the gimmick now for the most part, I did have cool t-shirts, thank you.
Especially that Rorschach one made out of blood.
Designed by this fella right here.
I was really proud of that one.
Dude, it was such a cool fucking shirt. Like it was exactly what I wanted it.
Yeah, you came to me like, can you do this? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't think I could do that, but I wanted to do that. I was like, I will figure that shit out, man.
Yeah,
your face
so cool.
Out of blood.
So fucking didn't sell any, but I loved it. So like, but that was the thing. Like being a heel, like selling a t-shirt in general is just fucking hard in general. But
yes,
I will say like every now and then, like I'll get like some of them either Instagram reels or Facebook fucking videos that just kind of pop up. And it's these dudes like in these death matches, and they're fucking doing like Canadian destroyers through glass with like 40 people watching. And like to me, it just makes me sad because as somebody who like deals with the repercussions of wrestling every single day, like I know what their life is going to be like in 5 years, 10 years. And yeah, trust me, folks, like I'm not complaining. Like I got to do more in wrestling than most people ever get to fucking do. I basically got to experience a lifetime of shit in wrestling in 10 years. I got to fucking wrestle with Terry Funk. Like what the fuck, But at the end of the day, like remembering things is hard. Like focusing on things is hard. Like it's not easy. And recently, like I went through a real bad batch of insomnia because my mind just couldn't handle going to sleep. So like I do deal with the repercussions of having that, fucking amazing 10 years in wrestling. And I see these guys fucking killing each other, and I'm just like, guys, like it in the moment I get it because I was there and I did it. But man, like you're gonna pay for it. Like nothing comes for free. And that's the thing that kind of makes me sad sometimes when I see these dudes. I'm just like, you don't get that. Like, and you can't get it back. That's the thing. Like, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part.
And the thing that always like got to me, like I guess in a way of like explaining it, I was on like Twitter the other day and we are talking about like hardcore and deathmatch stuff, and I've always been like, I'm not a big deathmatch guy. Like, I don't like watching death matches. Even though like some of my favorite like indie wrestlers ever are like the Messiah and Sick Nick Mondo, who have done death matches. And you know, like I enjoyed like Tournament of Death 2 and stuff, but like I explained that like the reason why I enjoyed like ECW and the hardcore and like most of CZW stuff, not all of it, but most of like that stuff back then, is because I always liked the matches, hardcore or death match, where they incorporate the items, whether it be a table and a chair or light tubes and glass. They incorporate it into the spots. They build up to it, they tease it, they use it, and like that's it. I don't like death matches where it's like, we each got a light tube, we're gonna hit each other with a light tube. Okay, now I have a baseball bat and thumbtacks, I'm gonna hit you with that. Okay, now I'm gonna jab these skewers in your head. Like, I don't want to take away from these deathmatch guys because that ain't my spot. I ain't doing that shit. More power to you for doing that. But as a fan with the wrestling, like, I prefer them being built to and incorporated with instead of just being used. And the thing is like, I feel awful hearing that shit about you and everything. And what these guys may not get, like, you're dealing with all that shit, but all the shit you did, it mattered more than what you did than what most of these guys are doing, because you did those fucking matches, you did those spots, you did those shit, but they were never for no reason. You never did that shit for no reason. You never did that shit just for the pop, just for the thing. It was always building to this, where are we going? And your feud with Freddie was kind of a good example of it, because like, okay, we just did this cage match. What are we doing next? Well, okay, we got to go up. We're going to do a last man standing so you can fucking hang the guy, you know? Like, where are we going next? Okay, you're wrestling ISIS. We did this match, we had the thumbtacks. Well, now we're going to do this ladder thing, and ISIS is going to bleed fucking a 10 on the Muda scale. Like, you know, so I think at least you looking back, you can at least be like, what I did mattered in front of those crowds, for those stories, the art you created, the things that you produced, as opposed to, hey, there's an opening in Indiana, but you have to do a 200 light tube match in front of 40 people and I'll pay you like $5 sort of thing.
Yeah, like I am super proud of those matches, without a doubt. Like some of those things that probably cost me the most, like, are some of the things that I fucking hang my hat on for the most part. The only one and the only one that like is kind of sticks with me, and the only reason it sticks with me is because it was Eddie that came up to me afterwards and was like, "Man, you don't need to do that." And of all things, it was our cage match at Susie's.
Really?
Yeah. So in the cage match at Susie's and the tag match, like, Portia walks out and then it's just you, me, and Graham, right?
Yeah.
And so we do the spot where you throw me into the overhang beam that was there.
Yeah.
And I blade on it and I get some color. And so I'm getting color. And then fucking you and Kevin, like, Kevin hits that fucking money leg drop off the top of the cage, and like as like I'm looking up and he's coming down, I'm just like, oh, this is fucking great. Like I'm marking as it's happening because it's so fucking good. And then I get to the back and Eddie comes up and he goes, "Axe, you bladed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. It's a fucking cage match. Like, you're gonna fucking blade in a cage match." He goes, "You didn't need to do that." And I'm like, really? Like of all everything? Like that's it? Like that's the thing. And then like afterwards I'm just like, well, I guess I didn't have to, but like,
well, here's the thing about Eddie that night anyways. And so because that was the tavern show, The first one, the second one not so much, but the first one was really like, this is our shotgun Saturday night. This is our adult only show. It's later. It's a bar. You have to be 21 or older or whatever. So like we're gonna push the limits. And so this is ironic now, but before that show, like Josh came up to me and we were the main event and all that shit. And he just goes, well, it's an adult show. It's all the shit. We're in a bar. He's like, I want you to cut a straight edge Rhino promo and just swear and piss everybody off.
Right.
And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. And I remember getting out there and having the mic, and this is only a couple years in, and that place is packed. Everyone's fucking drunk. And I try like talking, people are shouting shit, and I can't really do it. I get like, I don't know, not so much choked up, but like I lost my place and I was like deer in the headlights. And the Kevin Graham comes up and he fucking slaps me and he's like, just fucking do it. And I'm like, yeah. So I start going off and all this shit and I'm putting them down and doing all this stuff and just screaming and yelling. And then way at the back of the bar, I see Freddie and Eddie Edwards drunk off their fucking asses with double fist and whatever, just yelling and booing at me. So I know for a fact when Eddie said that to you, he was pretty gone.
Well, a fun tidbit, and only for this on this show. That show was the first time Eddie Edwards had a drink before wrestling.
Oh.
And it was only because of me and Josh. Because we did a show the night before, and this was like the second show, and or at least for what I recall.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I'm sure Patrick will pop up any second and tell us what the doubleheader was. But you're
fucking bad
right.
influences. And so so after the first show, everybody went out as per normal, and so we get I think in the car ride it was me, Josh, and Eddie. We're driving to Susie's, and Eddie's hungover, Josh is hungover. I'm a little hungover, but not bad. And Josh just keeps talking about cheese sticks. Like he just wants some fucking mozzarella sticks, like more than anything. And Eddie's just like, can you just stop? Like, can you stop with the and then Josh is just like, just when we get there, just have a shot and you'll be fine. Hair of the dog, fucking type of situation. Like just do, and he's just like, I don't drink before matches. And I'm just like, Eddie, you'll feel so much better if you just have a fucking drink.
Hair of the dog.
And so like we get there, and as soon as we get there, me and Josh go up and we get Jack and Cokes, and we're just like, we just need to fucking get through this thing. And I already know, like, I got the cage match with you guys for the night, so like I know I'm in good hands. So like we're gonna get through it and stuff. And so like I do it, and then we get up to the bar, and Josh is like, Eddie, yeah. He's like, no. And I'm like, He's like, all right.
He can only say no to like 4 or 5.
Right.
After that, he just can't say no.
Right. Exactly. So that was how me and Josh broke Eddie Edwards before Susie's Tavern, doing that. And it was a fucking wild show and a fucking wilder after show. You were fucking arm wrestling motherfuckers for
the
top
birth
dollar.
Of the King of Arms.
Birth of the King. I saw a man baseball slide into puke. That was fucking wild. Like
Eddie was chopping the shit out of people.
My favorite story, and Cosmo, I'm sorry, I gotta tell this story.
Oh no,
dude! It is my favorite story.
Yeah, this was a talk of the town. Like the day after.
The day after.
Yeah, the couple days after is when I like started hearing it.
Oh god, it was so funny. So before the show, Cosmo buys me a shot of Jack, and I'm like, all right, thanks. And then after the show, he's sitting at the bar, and I'm gonna return the favor. I'm gonna buy him a shot of Jack, but he's trying to hook up with a girl who's at the bar too. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna help a brother out. So I buy me a shot of Jack, I buy him a shot of Jack, and I buy the girl a shot of Jack too. And like everybody like cheers, cheers, cheers. You throw it back. The girl throws it back and immediately regrets it. Like immediately. And then so you see her shoot it back, and she does like the lean back and then the lean forward, and it all comes up. But she's like trying to block it with her hands too. So it's like it's coming out and it's hitting her hands and it's fucking going everywhere. And so she runs to the bathroom and her friend's like helping her. And I see Cosmo, and he does like the drunk lean back, and he looks at her, and he looks at me, and he just goes, and just bursts out laughing. And it is the funniest fucking thing. Because I had all good intentions. Like, I was trying to help my boy out.
You tried,
but,
man. You can't blame me for that.
But Susie's was always a shit show. It was always a fucking shit show.
The second one we did, Hexa Jim Duggan was like our headliner. I think Carlito was the one on the first one. So I remember Hacksaw, he wrestled Cage, and the show's over, and a bunch of us are like out in the parking lot. We're doing that thing where we're standing around talking for way too long instead of leaving. So I'm out in there, and I forgot who I'm talking to, but it was me, some other guys, and Loca. And we're all sitting there talking, and then like we could see to the bar, like the back door, there's like the little overhang over the back door and the light. It's pitch black except for this light. And we just see two people like together, just like hardcore making out. You know, we just see this guy making out with this long blonde haired girl. And then Loca sees it. He looks over his shoulder and he goes, "Hey, no PDA." They start making out. The guy turns around, looks, and goes, "Huh?" It was fucking Hacksaw Jim Duggan making out with some blonde. Derek goes, "Oh shit!" Like hides behind the car. Duggan's like, "Who's that?"
Oh man, yeah, that was Susie's was always a fucking shit show. I'm so glad we only did 2 of those fucking things. Oh,
and
heyo.
I also got pissed because after that cage match, we're all fucking hyped up because we just ran Porsche out of the company. We just put down Jason X, the fucking Golden Boy, and the Bloody Mess. We have the fucking tag team titles and shit, and the crowd's still going crazy. So Kevin Graham does this thing where he's like, "Come on, we're gonna fuck with these guys." So we leave the cage, and we're trying to go out the cage to the left to go up to like the marks who are drunk, and it's a tight squeeze. And I'm trying to get by, and all of a sudden I get yanked back, and I hear. And I was like, what the fuck? So we do the thing. I go in the back. I take off my singlet. My singlet got caught on the cage, and my black trim
motherfucker
got fucking yanked like all the way off.
Damn.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? And I was like, what do I do?
Right.
I forgot who. I knew somebody. I had some friend, or I don't know if it was a girl I was dating, but somebody stitched it back up for me, and it was good as new. But that was the first time I ever hit like fucked up gear, and I was really, really scared. Ryan asks, do you have any good memories of working in Rome?
I don't know about good memories. I've got 2. I think the thing is, like, after a while, like, these places fucking kind of meld together as to where they are.
That's what Patrick is here for.
And so I have 2 stories of what I presume is Rome. Okay. I hope they're Rome. And they're not good. Either one is not good.
What about you sweating your ass off?
Well, fuck, it was hot as shit in that place. And I think so. One of them I definitely know is Rome because I know it was hot as fuck. Where I was working Masada, And so, or at least I think it's Rome. I hope it's Rome.
I know you worked Masada in Watertown,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you worked him in Rome too. Didn't you also work Tremont in Rome? Was it Tremont? I can't remember if you did. Also,
No,
for Masada.
Tremont was Amsterdam.
Was it?
Yeah, was Hall of Fame
Okay.
show. Yeah,
Okay,
so I
you
worked
worked
Masada.
Masada and CVE in Rome. That's what CVE. Oh, Christina Von Eri. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, so it was
and
Masada.
that was a fucking frustrating situation. It was always frustrating working with um the CZW guys because they always assumed you knew their gimmick.
Mhm.
And so like whenever fucking working what's that fucking dude's name? The guy who used to own the place.
DJ Hyde.
DJ Hyde, he's a fuck. He is awful to work with. And so but working with Masada, like I was super pumped to work with Masada because I was like at the time I'm like I want to change my style. I wanted to go I was really into Nakamura before he got signed, like when he was still doing the New Japan stuff.
Mhm.
So like I was really into like that strong style stuff, and I'm just like, oh, Masada's like the perfect opponent
If I
for
remember correctly,
that kind of thing.
You had his first match. It was in Watertown at the big event, and I remember specifically him saying he really liked working you because he doesn't get to do that type of wrestling because in
Right.
CCW he's always doing the hardcore shit. So he wanted to
Yeah.
come back and he liked working you because you got to do that type of shit with you.
Yeah, and like working him was fine for but like coming up with spots and stuff like that, and Von Erie was there too. So they were trying to come up with like this thing between the two of them, but I didn't watch CZW, so I didn't know what their relationship was. I didn't know what their gimmick was. So like every idea I would throw out to them, they'd just be like, "No, because you should know this, and like I don't fucking know. Like I don't watch the show, so like it just seemed like everything. Like it seemed like it was pulling teeth to like get anywhere with anything. I mean, the match we had was really good, and I liked it, except for the fact that like, motherfucker, like didn't catch me on the cannonball, so like I basically was just like, bye Felicia, and I just fucking like took it on the floor, so that sucked a dick. But like, the other thing too was like he did something where like my like full fingernail fell off or some shit like that. Like it was gnarly.
Like on purpose?
Not on purpose. It was just something that fucking happened. But like,
I'm surprised
like the
that's
matches,
not a spot.
Yeah, right. And then like, he fucking ribbed me because I guess he was talking to Josh, and Josh had said something about because they were doing the skewers back in the day in CCW, and I was just like, I would never take that shit. That shit seems stupid. And so like after the match, he's just like, oh yeah, next time you know I'm gonna bring the skewers, and I was just like, but I worked Masada again. It was me, Spike, and Masada in a three-way in Watertown, I think, but not like the good Watertown. No, it was Niagara Falls. It was that one time we ran Niagara Falls in that fucking building.
It was. I think it was supposed to be a hockey rink.
Yeah,
like a shed hockey rink.
The night before, he wrestled fucking Roderick Strong and blew his fucking leg out. So Masada's like, I can't do anything. And so like me and Spike were like, fine, like we'll just work around you. Like that's easy. You know, it's a three-way, so like we can do something, you can powder and it'd be fine. And I just remember like after the match being like, oh, thanks for taking care of me, but like him being like more infatuated with Spike taking care of him than me taking care of him. And so like he brought back like a case of beer and like gave it to Spike. And I'm just like, I was there too, man. Like the fuck. Like so that kind of sucked. Do you know the I don't know. So
yeah, ignore Nightbot.
Yeah.
That's an automatic thing.
Okay. The other Rome memory I have, I believe is with Ando. So I was wrestling Ando, and it was I think it was just me and him for the title. And I remember this only because I was fucking pissed. Because after the show, AJ Styles was on the show. And he was
Okay.
IWGP champion at the time. And after the show, everybody got pictures with the IWGP belt. And I wrestled Ando, and we had done a spot where, and it's the stupidest spot in the world, and nobody should ever fucking do this spot because everybody always gets hurt on this spot. Don't ever fucking do this spot where you set the guy up for a belly to back suplex on the top and he flips over for a crossbody. Because every single time he's going to land on your face.
Is that the HBK British Bulldog?
Yeah, and sure, and like going into it, I'm like, I'm gonna get hurt on this spot. I know I'm gonna get hurt on this spot, and sure enough, and it's just, it's not anybody's fault. It's just a fucking tough spot. Like it's hard to flip over and then land flat, in a safe way that you're not landing on top of the guy. And so he fucking lands on me, and my teeth go straight through my lips, and like, and it's gushing blood. And so at the time, I'm just like, all right, we're here. So I'm gonna make the best of it, and I'm just spitting up blood and doing all the short shit that I can. And then after the match, we get to the back, and Dr. Dan, he's just like, he can't put a Band-Aid on it, so like he's like, you got to go get some stitches. And I'm just like, fuck, because that's the last thing I want to do. And so I can't remember who, but maybe it was Ted. I can't remember. Somebody drove me back because I had ridden up with Josh, and Josh had to stay for the show, and drove me back to Cuse so I could go to the ER and get stitches. And of course, while I'm in the fucking waiting room of the ER, they've got repeats of fucking Gilligan's Island on the fucking TV. I'm like, what a fucking rib this is. And so I get stitched up, and as I'm getting stitched up, I'm seeing on Facebook everyone's getting their goddamn picture with the IWG championship. I'm like, you motherfuckers. Like, of course, the one fucking time that we've got the IWGP belt, like, right there.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I did not. And this might be me overthinking and being stupid, but I saw it. Like, it was sitting there, it was right in front of me. And someone's like, oh, you can, like, check it out, blah, 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 whatever. First off, I was like, no. Because first off, like, I'm not just going to pick up somebody's championship belt and, like, manhandle. Like, that's AJ's. Like, if I wanted to see, like, AJ can be involved or whatever. But there was something in me that was like, I don't deserve to pick up this belt. Like,
yeah,
it's not a toy. It's
right.
not a mark paying $5 for a picture of the belt. Like, I did nothing to deserve holding this belt and taking a picture with it. Like,
hold on, folks. I gotta plug my phone in. So
I was just gonna say that earlier. I was like, most people end up forgetting to plug the phone in.
Yeah. So how do I get my video back? I don't know how to do this.
Oh, we lost him. Sorry, I clicked my microphone button. We should be good now.
Sorry, everyone. I'm fucking new to this goddamn streaming shit.
Yeah, he's never streamed before.
I've never streamed before, so I gotta try to find a goddamn cable. I wasn't prepared for the fucking.
It's the office tour
gimmick, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I was a little pissed that I couldn't get the picture with the IWGP belt, but it's just one of those things that like, fucking die for this art, right? That's the idea.
That's pretty much what you're told. Yeah.
Yeah.
It owes you nothing. You give everything, and you get nothing.
You get a hot dog and a handshake at the end of the day, right?
I saw Ryan mention that Rome was also the debut of the Jugger Dog.
Ah, the Jugger Dog. That's a story.
So I guess my first question on that is, how did you guys freaking settle on the Jugger Dog and just like skip over, like the midnight, the midnight Jugger or something? I don't know. Why'd you skip over all the other like notable ones and went straight for the Yellow Dog?
I think only because Josh was on a Pillman kick. Honestly,
That makes sense.
because it, that's kind of the thing. One of my biggest frustrations with 2CW was that nothing really made sense if you really thought about it. Like everything was just kind of on a whim, and so he's just like, we're gonna do this thing where you and first he was like, can your wife make a mask?
There it is.
There it is, folks. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like she had done she had just started making some wrestling gear because she's a hell of a seamstress. And I was like, I don't know. And I asked her, I was like, can you make a mask? She's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, okay, can you try? And she's like, I guess. And so so she whipped up this thing, and I'm just like, what are we doing? And he's like, you're gonna wear it, and everyone is gonna know that it's Jason X, but you're the Jugger Dog. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because it's funny. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so the first couple times doing it, it was just,
Stupid.
It was stupid, and going out, and I'm like, he's gonna keep having me do this thing, and I don't know why, and I don't know what it is. So
did he know what the payoff was going to be?
There was none. There was zero payoff. There was zero payoff. There was zero idea. There was as far as I knew, which is another aspect in general. Like most people think for some reason, like I was in the know of a lot of stuff. To set the record straight, like most of the time I found out day of what was happening
100%.
in 2CW. Like no inside information, no nothing. Like the night I wrestled Mikey Whipwreck, I found out that day in the arena.
And then even if like beforehand, you're like, hey Josh, what's going on? He would just be like, fucking Syracuse basketball, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not what I asked at all.
Exactly. Like maybe prepare a little bit, something. I don't know. But so he had this idea, and I don't know if there was a payoff, and I don't know if it certainly wasn't fucking told to me, if that's the case. But eventually, and much like when I first started, the whole like main event gimmick I just came up with. Like I just was like, okay, well, this kid who was on show 1 and show 2 to play guitar, and then show 3 is the on-center show, and right before the show, I go, hey, Josh, am I a face or a heel? Because I don't know. And he goes, why don't you try being heel? And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, why would I be a heel? And I'm like, well, I had like 2 things to spotlight. Like maybe I think that I deserve to be in the main event. And that's it. That's all where that came from. And so it was just something that I like came up in my head and was like, all right, this could work, and ran with it, and it seemed to work. And so Josh kind of ran with it, type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so with the Jugger Dog, I'm like, who the fuck is the Jugger Dog? Like, I don't know who this is. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, this is like an opportunity to be super over the top. And because usually my character is like strictly either like a coward heel or this crazy dude. That's like the 2 things I got. And so I'm like, all right, well, the Jugger Dog, like, what would be fun? And so I started doing like a David Schultz impression while I was doing the Jugger Dog. Because at the time I was just watching his old promos, and I'm just like, these are fucking wild. Like these are fucking insane. Where like I want to look for a woman, and I see a lot of men that look like women, and
Hulk Hogan,
like,
those are your kind of women.
Exactly. Like I'm just like, this is fucking insane. So like the Jugger Dog developed like this southern accent, and like started calling everybody daddy, and like did all these things. And I just remember one time we were doing the Ithaca show where fucking sold out. It was the biggest show we've ever done. where we rented out that arena, and they had like the billboard and all the shit.
Oh, Elmira.
Oh, Elmira.
Yeah.
And it was in a 4-way where the Juggerdog was going to come out, and then I was going to get beat, but then I was going to come out as Jason X after. And that was the first time that I really did like the David Schultz thing. And I came out to the ring as the Juggerdog, and I remember Ash was in the ring, and he just looks at me and goes, "Why are you talking with a Southern accent?" And I go, "I don't know." And so
why the fuck am I wearing this mask?
And so it just kind of morphed from there, and that's all that ever was, and there was no payoff. The only fucking payoff was that Scooby-Doo fucking thing.
That was my next question. What was worse, the mask or the fucking Triple H Scooby-Doo?
The Triple H thing
with the band playing nothing.
The band. Okay, so I popped for the band playing nothing. That shit made me laugh so hard. But it was so much work to pull off, because for those of you that remember, Ice's Effects was coming out to no music for a while, and we wanted to do this thing that particular show, and I can't remember where it was. Where the fuck was that? Was it? It was Watertown, but at the college, right?
The college. It was like 2,000 people.
Right. So ISIS was coming out to nothing. And WrestleMania had just happened. Like it had just happened like the month before or some shit. And Josh was on this like roll of like, let's spoof some stuff. And so that's where like the fucking the Scooby-Doo thing came from.
That was also the debut of the F the E shirt.
Because F the E shirt, yep.
Because WWE sent out that one email of what indies do you like to go to? And
that's what it was.
QCW was on there.
Yeah, because they wanted to see all the talent. Except for me and you.
Yep.
But so there was a big kick on fuck those guys and let's fight back. That was the idea, is let's fight back. So we I came up with the idea of ISIS comes out to no music, but what if a big band was set up and then they didn't play anything? And at the time, I was playing in a band. And so all the equipment that was there was mine.
Okay.
So the day before the show, Trades pulled up in the U-Haul to my house, to where in my basement my band rehearsed. And so we had to fucking pack up all that shit, load it up in the U-Haul, so you're bringing it up from the basement, out the door, into the U-Haul and packing. So it was a lot of fucking work for a rib that lasted 3 seconds on a show in Watertown. And at the end of it, I was like, that was funny, but man, that was a lot of fucking work to pull off.
That's fucking indie wrestling right there.
That's indie wrestling. And then the Scooby-Doo thing came, and that was another funny thing, because I was working at a place at the time. I was working at this insurance company that was right behind Shoppingtown Mall. And Shoppingtown Mall had Doherty's Masquerade in the mall.
I love that.
But they also had a TGI Fridays. So on my lunch break one day, Josh goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm on lunch." He's like, "Come to Fridays." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm at Fridays right now. Come to Fridays." So I walk. I mean, it's literally next door. So I walk to the mall next door, and he and Steve King are sitting there having lunch at TGI Fridays next to my work. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so, like, I sit down and, order something for lunch, and we're just shooting the shit, coming up with ideas. And he's just like, we want to do, Triple H had just done that stupid fucking Terminator entrance at WrestleMania. And he's like, how could we spoof that? And I'm just like, well, like, what if we did like a big mascot costume? And if I recall, I don't think Scooby-Doo was the first choice. I think there was another choice, but I think Scooby-Doo was the only one they had in stock in the Doherty's Masquerade at the Shoppingtown Mall on that day that we came up with the idea. I don't remember.
Was it fucking like Courage?
Well, I think he actually wanted a Terminator costume. I think that was the original idea.
Okay.
But But he's just like, yeah, we got Scooby-Doo and we'll wrap you in tinfoil. I'm like, whatever. Okay. So it was such a like bizarre, like it was one of those things where like you joke around and then like somebody's like, oh, we're doing that. And it's like, okay, I guess we're doing that. And I didn't actually think we were doing that until the day of the show when he's like, here's your costume. And he's like, don't fuck it up. I got a deposit on it.
You're on this fucking show with like Samoa Joe and all these fucking guys. And anybody like walk up to you and just like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, I got a little looks in the back. I was just like, what are you doing? And then and then I remember I get suited up in the thing, and I just remember being like, how am I going to take this thing off? Because the zipper was in the back.
Yep.
And there was no way, and we had to Iggy Fenton to be like, hey, bud, like, could you help me out a little? And like the whole time I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to get out of this thing, and I'm going to look like the biggest asshole of all time being stuck in the fucking Scooby-Doo costume.
And it all just started with, hey, you know what would be funny?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
should
and
wear a
that's a lot of
mask.
shit. That's a lot of the stuff was like, you know, after a while, like once 2CW was going for a while, so much of it was just what's gonna pop the boys, like what's gonna make us laugh. And I wish, in retrospect, I wish there was more attention paid to the reasons, the whys, the how comes, the payoffs. Because at the time it was funny and it was fun and all that kind of stuff. But like when you look back, like, I mean, I don't have any of the shit. Like I don't have any of the DVDs or anything like that. But I think if you look back and you watch it, like a lot of this doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, it was like towards the end, toward this time, it became a lot of what's going to be the best matches possible on this card we can do, is shit like that. And a lot of I know that as far as like the locals go, a lot of us would try to get together and do like the most that we could of what we had. And I don't mean that in like a super negative way, but like, you know, if we're ever in a situation like, all right, I'm wrestling this guy again for the third time, what's the reasoning behind it? What am I doing with it? Why am I doing this? And it was also about that time that I went to Josh and I went, hey man, like I know you tried doing like Supersonic, like they tried doing an hour-long 2CW internet show like every week, and it failed miserably because the fucking guy doing it is the most unreliable video guy in the history of wrestling. So we're basically the PWG, the East Coast. Yes. Yeah. So I went to Josh and I was like, well, what if instead of trying to do an hour or a half hour ago, what if we do like 10 to 15 minute show every week? We'll film some promos, we'll show like part of a match and blah, 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 blah. And his response to me was, I don't know, that's a lot of work. And I went, I got it. I'll do it. And that's when I started doing that hypersonic show. I don't know if anybody remembers these. Like
I kind of do.
Yeah,
I remember those.
They weren't around as long as I wanted to because after a while, Josh and I kind of butted heads on some things, and I was unable to do them. And not saying like it was like some argument. It was just something like the match footage I was using. Josh wanted it to be like so many months old. Like he didn't want anything super new showing on there because of the DVDs.
Right.
So like, and he wouldn't let me like record anything and use that. It had to be like edited footage. So I was like, that's fine. Just give me like the stuff I can use and I'll put it up. And again, our video guy was the most unreliable. So I never got any footage to use. So I ended up like not really doing it. But I would at shows, like I would grab anybody I could and be like, oh, hey, you just did this match. Do you want to like cut a promo? And I know I did that with you because after Watertown, you wrestled like ISIS Effect. So like I got you on ISIS after the match and you guys put over that shit. That was when like Kevin Steen ran off with the title. So I remember shooting this thing with like Harris as the commissioner, was like on the phone trying to reach him, like doing the best we could to put together like a comprehensive like story over
Right,
these
right.
episodes to go into the next show. And
Mhm.
just so we can just be like, well, this is what's happening and why. And the local guys would always be like, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm at the training thing. People would come down and like maybe they'd shoot a promo for me to put up, or if I was on like some other indie show, they would film stuff, and I was just grabbing stuff from locals who were just like piecing together their series of matches the best they could and running with it. And sometimes it would make sense where you're going. Sometimes Josh will throw you a curveball and now you're doing something else. But I mean,
Right.
at the same time, it's a good way to get your creative juices flowing, you know.
Oh, for sure. For
Graham and I
sure.
are wrestling CK every fucking month, but you know, why? What can we do with it? And it really helps
Mhm.
you get your shit going.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's the benefit. The real benefit to 2CW was the freedom to do that kind of stuff. Like, if you were doing something cool enough and you were doing something that was, you know, getting over, Josh just ran with it. Like, he didn't give
Yep.
a fuck. So like that was like the real benefit was the freedom to do that kind of stuff. The downside of that was the freedom to do that kind of stuff because there was no fucking control over any of it. So it's kind of the best and worst of all of it, you know. At the same time.
Yeah, because like it was about that time, like so like Graham and we started like I was saying this last time, like Graham got to the point after he like graduated college, he's like, look, man, like I got all this stuff going on. I'm probably not going to take on very many more bookings. I'll keep doing like 2CW, GSW, WXWC4, and whatever like our main ones were, like Pier 6. But he was just like, I'm not really going to do anything else because I got so much shit going on. And I'm like, I understand. I can respect that. So
Right.
like talking with Josh, I was just like, you know, this is what's going on with Kevin. Like, I'm not saying split us. I'm not saying like turn, but I was like kind of get like more singles matches just so I can get the experience. And I was really afraid that like we would have like this banger tag match and then like some big place would be like, oh, we want to use you guys. And Graham would be like, I can't
Right.
do it. You know, I
Right.
got adult stuff going on. So
Mhm.
I just wanted more experience as singles, and 2CW is my best place to be able to get that. So like this is when like I remember Stranglers being like, so you want to be like the monster of like 2CW, you want to be like, I was trying to transition like I was talking to Josh and being like, a lot of wrestlers have like niches. So like if
Mhm.
someone's on like putting together a card and like, okay, well I need this mass wrestler for this one match because it'll fit, like, oh, this guy's that. Okay, I need this like comedy guy who can do the spot. Okay, that's this guy. Like I wanted to be like that brawling powerhouse, like all
Mhm.
Japan type of guy. So they started booking me like that. That's when I started like squashing smaller guys and then like killing ISIS, and then like they booked me against Necro for better or worse. And like
Right.
everything
Yeah.
was going great, and that's what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, like it kind of like lost steam, and I started doing something else. I can't remember what. Um, I think I started doing more tags with Kevin again, and then that was like leading up to like when I went to Japan. But like we were wrestling the handicap heroes, and like he who should not
Right.
be named
Right.
and
Right.
Candace, like yeah, we're just kind of put in a different role. But for
Right.
what it was like, oh, this is great. But then just one day it's like, nope, you guys are needed over here now, and then it's like reshuffle the deck and where we're going.
Yeah. Yeah. And even I don't know what it was like. It seems like there was, I don't know, like I know you talked about on your show previously, like me and Steen tagging up and stuff like that.
Yes,
But
yes,
and when that was pitched and stuff, and I was like, I mean, that's cool. Like it sounds like a fun idea. But part of me too was just like, do you really not have like any other ideas for me? Like, and I don't know if that was a, like, we've already done everything we can do, so this is what we're doing type of thing. And I never saw it as a negative because, like,
mm-hmm.
obviously, you know, you're fucking tagging with Kevin Steen. Like, there's nothing negative about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Steen's fucking awesome, and he's over his shit. And you're gonna be winning the titles and all that kind of stuff. And so there's literally nothing to complain about. But I had never really done tags before.
Right.
Like I did the tag with Portia, and that didn't work out. for reasons beyond my control.
Oh shit,
And
I totally forgot about that because like me and Graham always say like we're the only like multiple time team who are tag team champions. But like I always knew Cage as an individual is a 2-time tag. I forgot you're also a 2-time tag team champion. You did it with
2 time
Portia and Steen. I totally
fucking
never realized
Canadians.
that.
Let me tell you, like
Right.
fucking Canadians, like they can't keep their
Leaving
shit
you high and
together.
dry.
Right, leaving me high and dry every time. Like what the fuck?
Did
I thought
your
this.
family like fucking piss off a Canadian
I
wizard or something? You seem to have the
well,
worst luck with Canada.
well, it's probably because fucking Freddie got me caught at the border. That's the fucking that's the real gimmick. But yeah, and like I love tagging with Steen. Like he did he would do shit to like get us over that he didn't need to do at all. Like when we faced the Dudleys and we did separate entrances. I remember this to go out there. Like I came out to my music, then he came out to his music, and I was in the ring, and when he came out, he just came up and hugged me, like in the ring, and he didn't tell me he was going to do that or anything like that, but like stuff like that like sold the team, and it was one of those things that like there's no reason. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind why that dude made it. Like he got it. He knew exactly what he needed to do in every situation to get over and to make something make sense. So it makes all the sense in the world why that dude's fucking on top.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of mention this earlier when we were talking about like t-shirt guys, because back when I was doing those new pro like school show type of deals, and I had a bunch of like, you know, kids from all the schools put on like these internet shows. There was this one guy, a student from someplace, and we are kind of talking about like, you know, what are you doing? What are you thinking? What's like your character idea or whatever? And we're kind of like going over stuff, and like his gear was just like a t-shirt, Tommy Dreamer pants, and like wrestling shoes, and he was a big dude. I'm not saying like he was like jacked, but he was really tall. He was a big guy. Just like fresh, a clean slate, could do a lot of shit. So Derek and I were like talking to him, and we're just kind of like asking him, like, you know, what do you want to do and stuff like that. And he was a black kid, and he said he didn't want to be a stereotypical black wrestler. He didn't want to do like that crime time gimmick. He didn't want to do shit like that.
Okay.
And I was like, well, completely understandable. So we're like pitching stuff, and like we're like, well, what if you're like the educated black guy, and you like spun it on its head, and like now you're not that thing, you're the opposite. And he was like digging it, and we're like, oh, you can dress like this and get this kind of gear. And he was really big on like what he was wearing. And I know now I've like added t-shirts and stuff to like me wearing it, which is kind of contradictory, but I've always said I'm trying to do my Cactus Jack Terry Funk years of my career, so I'm kind of like leaning towards their look. But I've always been like, even if you're not in the best of shape, you shouldn't have to worry about hiding behind a shirt, because you're a wrestler and they come in so many different sizes and stuff.
Right.
And when he was talking about the shirt, his thing was, and he said this, he just goes, well, Kevin Steen wore a shirt, so why can't I? You know, and like that was kind of his reasoning why he should be able to wear a shirt. And what I said to him, and I was like, well, even Kevin Steen couldn't rely on that because he went to Ring of Honor and the man to take the shirt off for a while.
Right.
So it might happen. But at the same time, I'm just like, Kevin Steen gets away with wearing a shirt because he has so much fucking charisma, so much character, and he does shit, and you don't even like focus on that he's wearing a shirt.
Not at all.
And I was just like, do you think you could match that? Do you think you can go out there and fucking get the crowd so wrapped around your finger that they're more concerned about what you're saying and what you're doing and not what you look like?
Yeah, it takes such a fucking special talented dude to do that.
Yep.
And
to be continued. Oh no.
Okay, there, I'm back. These goddamn technical difficulties. I mean, he's such a fucking talented dude and such a special dude that that, like you said, like you don't even fucking notice. Like you don't. It's not even. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we had, like, when you think about the guys that came in for us, and like there's a lot of dudes that came in, and now we see them on a regular basis,
Mhm.
on TV or what have you, and it just like kind of shows you that like that late 2000s time was like a real magical time in wrestling, just because you had so many people doing so many innovative things. And like I really hate this idea of when people are like kind of like for lack of a better term, like the Jim Cornettes of the world, that are like, wrestling is this way, and it needs to be this way, and it's always going to be this way, and anybody else that doesn't do this is not doing it right. And I just think about like the small period of time that I was in the business of that 10 years. It changed so dramatically from when I started to when I finished to where it is now, that it's to be able to, for those guys that were with us that are now succeeding in the business, to have adapted and evolved. And then you look at a guy like either like Jericho or Hardy, who's been in the business that much longer, who is still fucking relevant, who's still doing it. And you're just like, I can't even like, it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes.
Yeah. Like I was gonna kind of mention this earlier when we are talking about like those deathmatch guys and the tolls on your body and stuff, and just kind of like I was gonna say that like the shift in wrestling has been so massive that like that age restriction, that number, like, okay, I'm 36, I gotta stop. Like that has like really changed and become non-existent because so many guys can go longer and further, because now so much is different with how people can take care of their bodies, how they can adjust the wrestling style, the presentation, and so much stuff is mixed that like there's no reason why. I mean, I'm not saying like everything, like anybody, no one wants to see Dory Funk Jr. put on a competitive match, but
Right,
like,
right, right.
yeah, the guys like the Chris Jerichos and to some extent like HC Loke, like HC Loke still going like there's a time where he wouldn't be able to pull that off. Like everyone would be like, no
Mm,
man, you're too old, you can't be doing this. But now, but diets, exercising regiments, like what types of stuff is acceptable in wrestling, like you can get more out of it if you're smart on it. And kind of
mm.
going to the deathmatch stuff, like that's going to hinder that because you're burning the candle at both ends as opposed to preserving the years you have and getting the most out of it.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
Sting, that's another good one.
yeah. Sting's a good example, Fenton. Yeah, I mean, not wrestling every day. Like that's huge. And not only that, but like the rings are softer. Um, like I just like, God, that fucking WCW ring back in the day was such a fucking killer, man. Like it was
Fucking
so
training in
fucking
that
stiff,
thing and Wavell Street in the fucking winter. It was like
so
fucking
fucking
concrete.
brutal. It was like concrete, and then like then you're training in it, and then you had to do the shows in it, and then the fucking wooden beams that you had to haul up and fucking down the stairs at the pastime. You're just like, God damn it, fuck this goddamn ring. It is the worst. And then when we finally got the high spots ring, I'm just like, good lord, this thing's a breeze. This thing's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have definitely, that's like another big one. Like,
Oh.
You like to get into a lot of, like training that always say like, oh, you're going someplace new, always check the ring,
Mm.
like check the ropes, check the mat, check the bumps and shit. And I can't even tell you like how many fucking places I've been with rings where you'd get in there and you'd be like, oh, watch it here, there's a broken board, or watch here, the mat's fucked up, and shit
Yep.
like that. But any of the bigger, better places that are going to have newer rings, more give, more padding. And I'm not saying like it's a fucking trampoline, like it's going to be perfect, but those little things, because Jim Cornette again, he was saying that like the study that somebody did, like every pro wrestling bump is like
Mhm.
being in your car and get rear-ended at 35 miles an hour.
I mean, I believe that.
Yes.
Like the
Like your body falling and suddenly stopping.
yeah, the killer's the whiplash on the neck. Like
Mhm.
that's the worst. Is I can't remember the number of times where like you take a bump, and even if it's just a stupid silly bump or something like that, and if you just like you could do just you didn't tuck your chin enough or something, like you'd feel it forever.
Yep.
Like there was a time um where I was champion, and actually I was feuding with Brody, and I fucking love Brody. Brody was the easiest fucking dude to work with, but there was a spot where I was gonna charge him for a shoulder block into the buckle, and something got fucked up, and I took the post for real, like on my shoulder, and then the next spot after was he was gonna give me the half and half over, so I took it for legit on the shoulder, and then he gave me half and half, and I landed on my shoulder, like right after that. It was fucked for 2 years. 2 years I couldn't do anything with my shoulder because it was completely fucked. And I went to doctors and specialists, and they're just like, it's a shoulder. Like it's fucked. Like they're a bitch to heal. Like what are you gonna do? And then keep in mind, like I'm still training, still going to the gym, still wrestling. So like forever it just didn't heal.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those things that like the wear and tear is real. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you just fucking deal with. You just
Yep.
keep going. And I was champ at the time, so like of course I was gonna keep going. Like there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. There was the last official 2CW show. I was wrestling someone who should not be named because I have so many of them in my career now. And I took a move where I took an STO on the ring apron, which I don't know if you know this, but that's the hardest part of the ring.
Hard, I hear. So I've been told.
So I took this STO bump. It was the only time I've ever bumped on the thing, and I was like really paranoid and petrified, but I did it the best I can. I've seen it, like it didn't look awful, it didn't feel awful, but like I remember like feeling something weird in like my left arm.
Mhm.
And finished the match fine, everything was great. And I think I might have even wrestled a time or two after that, but probably within like a month after that, I was at home in my chair and my arm started hurting like really bad. And
Mm.
I was like, I'm having a fucking heart attack. So
Oh
I'm
fuck.
freaking out and it's like really hurting. And then all of a sudden from like my hand up to my shoulder, like was on fire and
Mhm.
tingly and like it was feeling like I was getting electrocuted. It was like the worst fucking pain ever. And it was just all the way up my arm and doing all the shit. And I'm sitting up, I'm doing all the shit I can to like deal with it. And it was like so bad that like I was sleeping in the recliner because I couldn't lay down. So I'm like sleeping at night in the recliner using fucking biofreeze and stuff. So I finally
Mm.
got it like checked out. And what happened was, and I didn't know this, but on that STO, I partially tore my bicep. So it didn't come all
Oh
the way
fuck.
off, but it
Yeah.
kind of did. And then it healed. So instead of it being like up where it's supposed to be, now it's down over here.
Mhm.
And it just healed that way. And
Fuck.
the most painful way ever, it's still all funky, yes. And after that, once like I was good, I went back to like train or like
Mhm.
in the gym. So I'm doing like my fucking like bicep curls and the hammer curls, and like I'm 45, 50 pounds, but on this one, I'm doing like 5. Like I couldn't lift anything heavier than like 10. So it became like a rehab thing trying to get this arm like as strong as I can, but it's still fucked up to this day. I stopped doing a lot of moves. I used to do a gorilla press and like a power slam. I, started being lopsided, stopped doing
Mhm.
that. People are like, oh, can you catch me if I dive over the top? And I'm like, I don't know anymore. I'm going to say no because I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah,
And
brother, I gotcha. Don't worry.
look,
I
man,
gotcha.
if there is one thing I will pat myself on the back with and put myself over. And the only thing I will brag about is I am the fucking man at catching you on a dive. All
Well,
right.
that's great.
I have never lost anybody. I have saved more lives than people have like lost. And so I pride myself on being that fucking cushion. People can land on me safe and do all this great, knock on wood. But like,
Yeah.
so I really pride myself on that. So I don't want to be like, yeah, I'll catch you. But then if I catch them, this arm gives and now I'm like dropping them on their head. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
just don't trust
Yeah.
them anymore. So, but yeah, just that one little thing wasn't at the time. And then now like my left arm, which is already my weaker arm of the two as it is now just completely fucked and like worthless. And it's not like Paul Orndorff levels, but it came really close.
But it's close. It's close.
It's close.
And brother, it's not gonna get better. I'll tell you that much. Like as you get older, fucking shit just keeps going downhill.
Yeah. A couple years ago I was in a show for Immortal, and it was their biggest show at the time. It was out like in Albany. It was in like this big, I don't know what the fuck it would be. It was just this huge venue. And at the time I was feuding with Slick there, and he was the champion.
okay.
And we had a bunch of matches, and I like lost one clean, a bunch of no contests. Yeah. So we get there, and the thing about Immortal is even like on the sheets, they don't give you the Iggy of the finish. So you'll see where you are, what's going on, but you still don't really know. So we're in the back. It
Why?
was supposed to be a triple threat match with
Okay.
this other guy who showed up in our last match and made a no contest, but like he couldn't make this one, so now became singles.
Fucking
And
indies.
yeah, he was like some big deal. I can't remember who he was, but like he was dating like some really famous female wrestler, and even now, like I think he does some like he does OVW or something. But he was supposed to be like some next big thing, and he was like a big deal. I don't know who he was,
Aren't
but
we all?
yeah. So he couldn't make the show, so it was me and Slick. We're in the back. We're going over. No, not Zach Clayton. No, not him. I did wrestle him though. So we're going over it, and we call it where Slick's going over. So we're talking, and then the promoter comes up. He goes, "Time for a change. Brute title's going on you."
Okay.
Sure.
Right.
So we just alter the finish, which involved him like ducking my lariat. So we just end up hitting the lariat, and like everything was fine. But
Sure.
there was a spot in the match where I was going to be set up on the top turnbuckle, and Slick would come up and he gave me a hurricane off the top, which already is a bump I'm really with, because I'm 6'5", 350 something pounds at the time, doing a fucking forward front flip with this huge dude the size of Slick doing the hurricane.
Right.
The
Yeah.
ring isn't 18 by 18. It might be 16 by 16, but it's a smaller ring.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all this shit, but I'm just like, no, I'll be fine. I can do it. I've taken
Mm.
enough of these. Like, I can do it. So the show is it's in the summer. It's like June or July. And it's in like, I guess you could just picture like a giant like hangar barn thing. It's like a metal. It's, so it's hot as fuck in there. So we're doing the spot. I'm sitting on the top. Slick's climbing up. He just goes, "Ugh, T-bone." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, dude, take a T-bone." I'm like, "I'm supposed to do a hurricanrana." So so he's standing on the second. I'm sitting on the top. He's going to hook me. He grabs me in a fucking T-bone exploder, and he goes to hurk me. We're both fucking sweaty and slippery. I'm like trying to jump over him with him now standing on the same turnbuckle as me, and I go and I don't rotate enough, and I land on the back of my head and my shoulders, and get my dick hits me in the forehead. I get folded up, and dude, I swear to God, I heard every pop and crack from the top of my spine
Fuck,
all the way
brother.
down to my ass. It sounded like fucking Rice Krispie treats. It was just
Fucking
pop,
hell.
pop, 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 pop. And so I'm sitting there. I'm doing this. I'm moving my legs. I'm moving my head. I'm like, okay, didn't break my neck. We're good.
Mm.
Adrenaline's still going because, we're going home. Everything's going great. Everything's going fine. Dude, to this day, 90% of my day, I am in the worst back pain of my life because of that move. And when I took a couple months off to get married, one of the main things was like, I got to heal this back. because my matches were changing because of it. I was like, I'm
Right.
not comfortable doing this. I'm not going to do that. My back was bothering me. I'm doing all this shit. I wake up, my back is hurting, my back is stiff. I sit too long, like just so much back shit. And I healed it the best I could. It didn't get much better. I probably need to see somebody do something about it. I probably got some Mick Foley shit going on, but yeah, for ever since then, man, my back has been fucked and I'm just in constant back pain. Like you've probably seen me fidgeting and adjusting all day, and I got pads and all this shit in my chair. It just, I'm always twisting and popping and making people walk on me. It's like, it's awful. So yeah, moral of the story is that shit stays with you forever.
It should. I mean, I will say, like, it does get like some of that stuff does improve when you stop doing it all the time.
I would
Like,
imagine.
like my knees have gotten a hell of a lot better. I mean, they're not great, but like they've gotten better since I've stopped doing it full time. But yeah, like a lot of that stuff, like you just kind of you're gonna live with. You're gonna find ways to work around it and find ways to try to live as comfortably as you can. But you know, it's part of the deal. It's part of the price. You know, it's part of what you sign up for. I mean, you don't understand that when you're 20 something and you sign up for it, or in my case, a 16 something and you start training. But like, you know, it's part of the deal. So we're getting a little late. I'm on 10% battery life, and I gotta piss like a motherfucker.
Okay.
And I promised you like a Meng story.
All right.
So let's take this motherfucker home. I think.
All right. So
and
while we're doing this Ming story, you know the drill, guys. While we're doing this, so give me 3 wrestlers in the chat.
And I promise I will come back on because I have a whole notebook full of stories we didn't get to.
We'll get them back on. We'll get it. We'll get that penciled in soon.
Yeah. So to start, I have to start off by saying this. This all has to do with the 2CW. Yes, I will talk about Bubba Ray next time. That fucking guy. This all has to do with the 2CW reunion show. So, Josh, back and forth about doing a 2CW reunion show, finally gets serious about actually doing the show. At this point, I hadn't been in a wrestling ring in 5 years, 6 years, something like that. And a big motivation for me doing the show in the first place was that my son never got to see me wrestle. My daughter got to see me wrestle when she was, like 2 or 3 or something like that. But my son never got to see me. And my daughter probably doesn't remember. So I'm like, you know what? Like, if daddy's going to be crippled when he's, in his 60s and 70s, they should probably know why.
They should see why, yeah.
They should see why. So I told Josh, yeah, I'll do the show. And so, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like, I don't want to go in there completely cold, because that's a recipe for fucking disaster. Like, that's a recipe for getting real fucking hurt. And well, lo and behold, I got real fucking hurt on the show anyway. But thanks, Morrissey. But
best fucking choke slam ever. I was gonna bring that up if you didn't, but holy fucking shit, man! You were 20 feet in the fucking air.
Choke slam was fine. It was the clothesline beforehand that knocked my dick off. But so, and it was only because he was pissed at Carr for not going up for that power bomb. But
shock Pikachu face.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, so I got to find a place here in Florida to train. And so I just do a Google search of like where, closest place I can find, and it's 30 minutes up the road. And I'm like, perfect, that'll work out. So I go there, and the head trainer of this place is a guy, and I'm gonna fucking butcher the name, and I'm sorry.
Mike.
Is a guy named Quangus. And he is the only NWA Triple Crown champion that's ever existed. And I'm just like, oh, that works for me. And so I work for these guys, and I go and train at their school, and like I go in there and I'm watching and I'm doing the Kahangis. That's it, or whatever, however the fuck you pronounce it.
Is it the dude who puts like the fucking Japanese sun painted on his face? I know
Yes.
him. I met him fucking NWA Dog up here in fucking New Jersey.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
him.
Yeah, super awesome dude, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so when I go to the school, I'm just like, oh, these guys are old school. This is great. This is perfect. Like they know what the fuck they're doing. He's awesome. The kids are trained and they're learning the right way. And like we were saying before, I go in there and he's just like, all right, well, let me see what you can do. And like as soon as I hit the ropes, he goes, oh, you're good. Because I'm hitting the ropes like Kowalski, right?
Yep.
So like he knows what the fuck you're doing. But I'm going there 2 times a week just to get my ring win back and shit. And as I'm doing it, like I'm starting to train some guys again. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. Like I'm kind of getting the bug a little bit. Like I'm training some guys, and these years of fucking useless knowledge are finally actually paying off, in teaching. And so they start running these local shows, and it's right after COVID. So like they're just getting back into doing the shows, and they're doing this place called Tappers or some shit like that. It's literally a very nice guy.
Tokyo Monster, yes.
It does a lot with Tokyo Monster. Love that dude. And that's the thing. All in the South, in Florida, it's all gimmick. It's all about the gimmick. Like the crowd wants that yay boo shit, and that's all they want. They could give a flying fuck if you can do a backflip. Like they just want,
south.
Dude, it's awesome. Like, and actually my last match that I had, which was last year, was with the Tokyo Monster. We were opening match. It was a 8-minute match. 5 of it we teased a lockup. Like no bullshit. And we were told we had the best match on the show. Like, it's fucking awesome. So like I'm doing the shows for these guys, and I'm just like, listen, guys, I don't want to do anything really. Like, I'm over that. Like, I just want to go out and get some experience, get my win back, so I can do these 2 CW shows. And so, like, all right, well, we'll just put you opener. And I'm like, opener's great, because opener, like, everyone's hot, everybody's ready, and as long as you're a bullshit heel like me, like, you're going to get some heat, and it's going to work out, and it's going to be awesome. So I go out there, and I do main event gimmick. So I'm going old school. I'm doing main event Jason Axe, that type of shit, and it's getting over. And so we're doing the show, and it's about probably the 3rd or 4th show that I've done for them. And I arrive there a little bit early, and I'm walking around, and Tokyo Monster goes up. He's like, "Hey, have you met Haku?" And I look over, and fucking Haku is sitting in a goddamn chair eating a taco. Like, and I'm just like, fuck no. And so like I walk over, and I go and shake the man's hand, and he has the fucking biggest hands I've ever seen on anybody ever of all times. And I'm like, he could have wrapped his hands twice around my hand. It's unbelievable. But like, nicest dude ever. Very personable, very nice. But like, once you see him and you see how big he is, you're like, oh yeah, no wonder nobody fucks with this guy. Like, it's very obvious as to why. And I'm like, what's he doing? And it's like, he's just here to hang out or whatever. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And so I go and I do my opening match like I normally do, and it's fine. And I go to the back, and Tokyo Monster comes up to me afterwards. He goes, "Hey man, do you want to stick around for after the main?" I go, "Why? What's going on?" And he goes, "Well, they're doing some filming, and they need some guys to do some matches." And I go, "Filming? What the fuck?" And he goes, "Come over here." And he goes, "Come talk to this guy." And so I go into the back, and I talk to the guy, and he goes, "It's Glacier from WCW." And I go,
"Did you go back in time? Are you on fucking WCW Thunder?"
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so I sit down and I talk to Glacier, and he's just like, "Hey man, so what we're doing is we're making a movie." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "So apparently what had happened is that Glacier teamed up with these guys who are like video production majors in college, and like their student film is this movie, and they got a budget of like $1 million to make. So it's like a legit movie. And if you
go to.
And if you go on IMDb and you type in the name of this movie, it will come up. It is a real fucking thing. It is called The Replaceables. And so I'm sitting back there, okay, and Glacier's talking to me about this movie, and he's pitching it hardcore. He says it's an old school 80s action flick type of movie. It's an old beer and pizza type of movie. And I go, okay, what's it about? And he goes, well, the aliens come to Earth. And
so they live sequel.
And the only ones that can save the day are all these ex-wrestlers. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, who's in the movie? And he's like, well, we got DDP. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, he's a dick. And then they're like, we got Larry Zbyszko. And then we got Stan Hansen in this motherfucker. Dude, I'm not kidding. I go, what is going on? And so he goes, so all we're doing right now is we're filming B-roll. We just need B-roll matches for guys to be in this movie. And so what they wanted to do was they wanted to film a 6-man tag for B-roll in this movie. And Tokyo Monster comes up to him and he goes, listen, I don't want to use any of my guys because he's old school and he's just like, he doesn't want any of his guys being beat in the movie. And I'm just like, and he points to me, he's like, listen, this guy came in and he basically points to me, he's like, listen, he's the only one that like knows what he's doing. So like, if you want to run any spots, you run them with him, which is me. And then, everybody else will just kind of be filler. And I'm like, okay, sure. Why wouldn't I do this? Like, okay. And so we're going through spots, and it's going to be Glacier, Haku, and a guy I can't remember, versus me, the guy I worked in the opener, and then some guy that they found who's not really a worker.
While you're telling me this story, I'm looking this shit up on IMDb.
It's fucking wild, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing the fucking movie poster. I'm seeing all the guys at ringside. Is this fucking Ernest the Cat Miller over here?
It's fucking wild, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So the show ends, and then yes, I swear to God, I'm not making any of this up. So Lotto Echo from Brute, they're saying. But anyway, so they're like, they told the crowd after the show, just stick around because they need a crowd to film the show. And so I'm like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And they're just like, we're just going to call it in the ring. And I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. So I go in and I start out and I'm, heel guy, and I'm fucking wrestling Glacier after the fucking show's over, starting off on this 6-man tag. And we run a quick, like, universal spot or whatever. And I tag out to a guy. And I tag out to the guy, and he immediately fucks everything up. Like, blows every single spot to the point where he can't even get clotheslined over the top rope. And so they, like, kind of cut for a minute. And then they throw him back in, and they're like, tag the other guy back in, which is me. And so I get tagged back in, and I'm just running spots with everybody. So I'm taking shit from Glacier. I'm taking shit from the other guy I can't remember. And then finally at the end, they tag in fucking Haku. And I'm just like, oh shit, I'm going to get to fucking wrestle Haku. How fucking cool is this? And so I get tagged in, and he's just like, just bump for me, brother. And I'm like, of course. Like, of course I'm going to. So he does fucking, like, he's just, just giving me chops and shit. He gives me a fucking thrust kick. He does the thing where he does this, and then he splashes me and pins me for the win. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? I have no idea what's happening. And so I get to the back, and then they all come up and they thank me and, shake hands or whatever. And they go, that was great, except for those other fucking guys, but you were great, like, kind of thing. And so I never told anybody the story because my whole plan was not to say anything. And when this movie came out, all the boys were going to see it, because who the fuck wouldn't see this movie?
I need to see it.
Right?
Bad.
However,
Oh no.
it's been 2 years, and I've heard nothing about this movie at all. So, unfortunately, I think it's a dead project at this point, which is so fucking sad. But it was such a ridiculous, like, of all the things of 2CW doing the reunion show, me finding this school, me going to these shows, me just happening to be at the right place at the right time to fucking wrestle both Glacier and Haku in the same fucking match on a show that nobody will ever fucking see. But if this movie does come out at some point, your boy will be in it, because I was the only one that could run spots.
This is the only time that this is the only time I've ever witnessed, like, if you can work, if you can make others look good, the cream rise to the top. You will always have a job. This is the only fucking time where it's just been like, yo, you can work now, fucking get in here and do all this shit for us. Like, this is the most fucking it paid off fucking story I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, and that's the thing. It's like, when it was over, I'm just like, I have nothing else to prove to anyone ever, because I fucking wrestled Terry Funk. Okay? I fucking wrestled Spike Dudley. I've been in cage matches. I've been on iPay-per-view. And I might be in a fucking wrestling movie wrestling fucking Haku and Glacier. What else do I need to fucking do in this goddamn wrestling career? Nothing.
You never wrestled Raven once.
I have never wrestled Raven. Although Raven did give me a fucking side-eyed glance when I put Mikey through that flaming table. He was just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Like, he was very confused.
I wonder if he was like me. I was angry at you for that for fucking months, because I finally had my match with Raven. We did my first hardcore Ravens rules. I got almost my eye poked out with a chair. I got DDT'd out of my fucking head. And all anyone ever talked about was Mikey going through that flaming table. And everyone forgot I wrestled Raven. Which is why to this day I have to remind everybody that I wrestled Raven once.
Sorry, brother.
Oh, it's fine. I forgive you now. But man, at the time I was like, fuck, he out ECW'd me. Fucking hell. All right. So you can go and take this piss, and before your phone dies, we're gonna speed run through this for you. So the first rapid fire question: you're on the road. What is your go-to style of music you're listening to?
Oh, definitely like if we can get some like CNC Music Factory, if we can get some Real McCoy. Some of that fucking terrible 90s techno hip hop combo. I'm all about it.
All right. You're on the road. What is your favorite go-to on the road meal or food?
Well, it used to be the fucking nice and easy steak and cheese, but those motherfuckers, they boast about a 24-hour menu, but they fucking roll up at 3 a.m. They're like, kitchen's closed, motherfuckers. And I'm just like, what the fuck, man?
I remember that story, you being so pissed, and then like a month later I was at one and I took a picture of the sign that was like 24 hours.
Bunch of horse shit. Horse shit. All I want is my steak and cheese on the road, brother.
So what replaced it?
Was it used to be mozzarella sticks, but then I got really drunk once and was choked to death on one. So I've stayed off of that. But like, if I can get, then I have to go with the gas station's Godfather's Pizza. There you go.
Okay. All right. You're on the road. Go to podcast.
Like I said, like Kevin Smith's my go-to. Big fan of Fat Man and Batman. Also, Tell Him Steve Dave. I love Tell Him Steve Dave. That's a great one.
To that one. But I used to listen to Fat Man Beyond a lot when I worked overnights. I listened to that one a lot, and I would watch the YouTube one. Okay, you're on the road. you have to pick one for your go-to car karaoke song. What are you singing along to?
I mean, Here Comes the Hot Stepper is a good one.
Okay.
You know, if it's not that, then I don't know, like nobody likes my music, man. Like, cause I'm the guy that's like blasting Simon and Garfunkel. Like, I'm that motherfucker. Well, it's Cecilia, you're breaking my heart. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So finally, before you go, here we go. Jason X, you're our next guest on the Tag Feud Barry. Just like Mary Fuck Kill, we're going to give you these 3 professional wrestlers picked by the chat here, and you're going to pick which one you're going to tag with, which one you're going to feud with, and which one you're going to bury. They didn't get really specific, so you can pick whichever era of these guys you want to use. So your 3 wrestlers are Bubba Ray Dudley, Sting, and Kevin Steen.
I mean, tag scene. Come on, that's a gimme. I'm gonna feud with Sting because I want money, and we all know about them Sting paydays, and fuck Bubba Ray Dudley. That is all I will say until next time when I come on the show, and we will go in depth on some Bubba Ray Dudley next time.
We're gonna have to, because when you brought up wrestling the Dudleys, I had so much fucking shit to say / ask. So yeah, we will definitely do that. So I'm definitely hit you up Axe here soon, and then I'm gonna ask you as soon as you can come on. I'm still putting together my next few guests here, so the sooner you want to come back on, the better. I look forward to more, because this has been absolutely great, man.
Yeah. It's an easy 3 hours we just did.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I think we surpassed my time with Dick Justice on here.
Oh wow.
So
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. And again, we have to do the part 2. And I really gotta thank you for coming on here, because even though you did help train me, we came up in 2CW and stuff. We were kind of chips passing in the night. We didn't really get a chance to really bond and talk a lot. And then I feel like once we started to, you shipped off to Florida. So it's been really great to be able to talk all this stuff, learn all this stuff. That fucking Meng story will always be the fucking greatest of all time.
It's wild, man.
But absolutely love it, man. Because when we did that reunion show, I think you and I, because we finally kind of reached the point where we're both too fucking old and grizzled and bitter, and we're just like, we're here, we're not being crazy. What's up, man? I definitely make sure I got that picture with you and stuff.
Fuck yeah, man.
So definitely really appreciate it. Before we leave, do you want to plug Brainwrecked and everything, in case anyone doesn't know about the greatest show on the internet?
Yeah. So the best show on the internet is Brainwreck TV on YouTube. We do Brainwreck live every Wednesday. We do a show called Don't Be an Asshole, which is a game show where Kevin Graham's lady Christy goes out to the internet and grabs Don't Be an or Am I the Asshole stories. We read them on air and judge them. It's fun. We get people involved in the chat, so come hang out when we do that on Thursdays. Me and the wife, we do board game date night on that channel. Christy and Kevin, they do video game date night. We have a lot of fun on there. We've been doing fucking internet shows for almost a decade now, which is fucking wild to think that that's the case. But we're not stopping anytime soon, so stop on by and check us out.
You definitely do. They do some great shows. I check them out as often as I can. And like I said, I definitely like Don't Be an Asshole. This shit's always a fucking blast.
It's super fun.
So everybody who came out and hung out with us today, thank you so much. You guys are great. You make these a blast. Thank you for participating. And I hope everyone enjoyed these stories. Definitely going to have Axe on here as soon again as possible to hear more of those stories. Bubba Ray. And as always, hashtag fuck Freddy.
Yeah, I got like 4 fucking Freddy stories I didn't even get to. So we got to come back.
Always leave them wanting more, Daddy.
That's right.
You don't do all your spots. Always leave them wanting more. All right, guys. Thank you so much again. You all have a great night. I'll be back here next Thursday. That's when me and Ma, we stream our Yeehaw video games. So if you want to come and hang out and chat with us there, we'll be there raising some shenanigans. And I will be back here next Friday for another episode of From the Hip, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My guest next week will be, we talked about him earlier, is going to be my Hired Gun Inc. brother, Garrett Holiday. So that should be some fun times. I can't wait to talk about the Albany area because holy shit, that Albany territory, man, they produce some wild ass people. All right. So everyone have a great night. Thank you so much again. Until next time, just remember, you guys are the champs.
Later.
Bye.